enough to have with us today Chris Kelly, who, if you've ever heard him sing before, is a tremendous singer. And I asked him to come here and sing the national anthem for us. So everyone can welcome Chris.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight all the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Chris. That's the way to start off the game, huh? We are not going to do our first responder of the month. We're going to do that at our next meeting. So we're going to have our first presentation, really workshop, but it's a public hearing, is the Pedestrian Safety Committee presentation. Kate, would you like to come up, introduce yourself to the council, tell us what you guys have been working on?
Okay. My name is Kate Walters.
Just address the council.
Just,
Yeah.
sorry.
Use your mic.
Microphone's there for it?
It's fine.
My name is Kate Walters. I think almost everyone knows me. I, along with my husband, own the building across the street in Sept.
You gotta belt out the name of your business. An opportunity.
Just get a little closer to the mic.
Good? Okay. My name is Kate Walters. My husband and I own the building across the street, and I own Sweet Tea's Tea Room. Just about everybody on the council knows me. I'm a member of the Bicycle and Pedestrian Safety Committee. We began meeting 6 months ago, maybe? About 6 months ago, and we've been addressing a lot of the issues that I think everyone shares. If you walked in town, or you ride a bike in town, or if you try to park in town, you have to share the space with a lot of people. So we're trying to make that better and safer and just move everything along a little more quickly in some cases and more slowly in others. And we put together a report based on our findings over the past 6 months and some next steps where our suggestions, in some cases what it will cost and where we can get that funding from, and just general information. So that's what we put together for you here today. I think you all have a copy of the report. Do you? I'm not used to having a microphone. We may have to rethink what I'm going to talk about. So the report is, actually, it's not very cumbersome. It's very to the point. But we've put together a slide presentation that is a little bit more specific for you and well, the report is specific and this gives a bit of an outline. I don't know if, are you going to move down here to see it or turn around? Can you see that?
Sure.
Thank you, Brian. You can just nod to me when you work the next slide.
Everyone hear me now? Okay. So the first slide, this report is going to go to not just the council, but to the state and the county and just various entities that can help us out with some of these situations and people who need to look at it and approve it, since some of the problems aren't just ours. We share them with the state and the county. So the first slide is general information about Belmar that I'm guessing you folks all know. Our year-round population is about 5,800 people, but we all know that that explodes to 50,000 plus on any given day in the summer. We have one more week of that, and then very active, large tourism and recreation base, and that really comes along with walking and pedestrians and everything that crowds our streets, and we want to keep that, but it's just a matter of how do we keep that and keep everybody happy. Our goal is to make Belmar a unique place for pedestrians and bicyclists and also motorists. We want people to be happy walking along Ocean Avenue. We want them to be happy walking along Main Street. We want everyone to be able to get on their bikes and ride around as an alternative to taking their cars everywhere. At the same time, we recognize that there is always a reason to have cars on the streets. So we want to make sure that we're good at sharing the roads. Part of that is adopting a complete streets program. And I believe that you did that, was it the last meeting? Complete Streets was adopted? Okay. And Complete Streets is just what it says. It makes it doesn't have to be all of the streets, but where we can, we want the streets to encompass bicycles, pedestrians, and cars. Okay? So we've already adopted that, and this is going to help us get there. This is just a screen. The next slide, yeah. The next slide just shows a little bit of an outline of what Complete Streets is. Does anyone have any questions about that? I think that's probably been reviewed by the committee. Okay. Next slide. All right. The 6 areas that we spent most of our time discussing, because that's where most of the issues are: State Highways 35 and 71, Monmouth County Roads 16th Avenue and Ocean Avenue, Main Street, and then areas falling under the responsibility of the Borough of Belmar, signage and educational materials, and then there are a few other items that we discussed. So one of the things that stands out here is that the state highways 35 and 71 are controlled by the state. So we're limited as to what we can actually do. We can make suggestions though, and we have been talking to people from the state to see what we can do, what they're willing to do, and it was interesting what they came up with. These are the issues though. Significant entering and exiting onto Route 35 occurs in the half mile of highway that is 35 and 71. That's from where 71 comes out by the marina to where 138 comes onto 35. 10th Avenue and Highway 35 is a high pedestrian area. Already dangerous intersections will be made more unsafe with future development and construction in the area. There are already plans for that, but that never stops. It's never going to stop. And then the 8th Avenue Railroad crossing, followed by a pedestrian crosswalk, is a significant safety issue. So that's where the senior building is. When you turn onto 8th Avenue, which is 71, you cross over the railroad tracks, and immediately there is a crosswalk there that is primarily used by the seniors from that building. So they are moving slower. The cars are moving faster. They just turned off a roadway that has a much faster speed limit. Unless there's a train there, they're flying right through Main Street. So it's a problem. Possible solutions. The first one, reduce the 4-lane traffic on Route 35 and 71 to 2-lane traffic between Route 35 and 16th Avenue. Now this may sound a little crazy. You think, well, no one ever makes a road smaller. Surprisingly, there's actually a word for it, and the state brought it to our attention, that this roadway might be eligible for what's called a road diet. It's been suggested by the coordinator of Complete Streets, and a request has already been sent to the commissioner, it's a Commissioner Fox of the DOT, to have us participate in a study that's funded by the state. So the state can do the study, and we can benefit from. I was actually surprised that road diet existed. I thought, my first reaction was they're never going to make the road smaller, but that is not true. So let's go for it. Longer traffic light at the L Street intersection. Reduce the speed limit from 35 miles per hour to 25 miles per hour. So, you know, again, it's all about getting word out there. And then, yeah.
35.
It would be nice if people would do 35. And that is part of the problem. What we were discussing is these months, this time of year, that road on the weekends can be a parking lot. However, and so you have, it's widened for that. But however, the rest of the year, when it's just the normal population, it goes from a parking lot to a speedway. So for the majority of the year, the road is wider than it needs to be, basically. So that's where our recommendation came from, and where the state is looking at exactly that type of a situation to implement these road diets. So let's see if we can make it happen. And that would also help to reduce the speed limits, because people, again, we worked with the county engineer for a little bit, and they made a very good point. People go as fast as they think the road will allow them to go. So it would also help with that too. Exactly. Exactly. Construction of a left-hand turn lane at 16th Avenue onto Belmar Boulevard. This would eliminate people actually making a right-hand turn to go around and make a U-turn and get a grade. And then photo cell lit signs in both directions of 35 that would blink when people are going faster than the 25. You see them around and they do catch your eye, so implement that. A heavy foot traffic sign on 35 before the bridge. And then move 8th Avenue crosswalk from 60 to 90 feet to the east. So again, that crosswalk where the seniors primarily are walking. Move it to the east a little bit from its current location, so it gives people coming onto that road a chance to adjust from being on the highway to being on a town street. Erection of a flashing yellow light at the midpoint of the crosswalk, and construction of an island at the corner of 8th Avenue and Main Street, just to designate that as you're in town now, so slow the heck down. Okay, Monmouth County roads, 16th and Ocean Avenues. The problems: high volume of traffic running north and south along Ocean Avenue during late spring to late through the mid-fall months. No surprise there. Pedestrian crosswalks and non-motorized travel become major concerns. There are as many people walking as driving up there. 16th Ave, part of Route 18, is a highly used roadway through a residential area used to enter and exit Belmar. Possible solutions. And again, we have to work with the county on these. Promote awareness for drivers that they're sharing the roadway with others. So a sharrow symbol, and that's what we have here. It's not a bike lane. It is really just to identify that there are bicycles on the road and share with them, and it's the arrows going in the way that we want the bicycles to travel. So it's to help reduce the problems of bicycles coming against the traffic, which a lot of people do. But this should keep it going in the right direction. Not a bike lane, though. A bike lane on the west side of the highway. Move the yellow center line 2 feet to the east. If you can follow the diagram we're doing here. Northbound traffic lane would then become 11 feet wide. Stop for pedestrian signs would be moved closer to the crosswalks so that they're not narrowing the roadway where they are. They're where the crosswalks would be. The roads more open there anyway. And keep the 25 mile per hour speed limit all year long. Part of this is, well, we can talk about that. Also for 16th Avenue, highly visible crosswalks on 16th Avenue. Right now in many places there are none. Reduce travel lanes to 11 feet wide, and increase signage showing speed limit and watch for pedestrian. Better elimination of the 16th Ave from dusk to dawn. The visible crosswalks and the travel lanes to 11 feet wide goes along with what we were talking about before, that people will travel on a road as fast as they feel the road would allow. So that's a residential area, but the road doesn't look like a residential road. So people just blaze on through. The crosswalks being more regular and more noticeable, along with the narrower roadway, would encourage people to just move more slowly. Main Street recommendations. The goal is to make Main Street a complete street. Sharrow signs, again, along the entire length on both sides of the street. Each crosswalk along Main Street would be highly visible pedestrian crossings marked. Many of them are already marked, but just make them even more visible. Delineate parking spaces south of 10th Avenue. Repaint yellow no parking areas south of 10th Avenue. Additional bike racks and improved sidewalks. And delivery regulations within the CBD should be reviewed and revised to limit times and places where commercial deliveries can be made. Again, to eliminate the congestion on Main Street and the ability to see. Are there any questions so far? I think we've pretty much gotten the problems. Okay. So, areas falling under the responsibility of the Borough of Belmar. Assisting the state, Belmar DPW can handle a lot of the painting and things like that just in the normal course of doing business. It's just doing it one way versus doing another. So Belmar DPW working with NJDOT, coordinating the implementation of the changes that we'd like to see occur on Route 35. Assisting the county, the Belmar DPW working with Monmouth County to implement changes to Ocean Avenue. And then sign installation, relining roads, crosswalk relocation, etc. These are some of the signage and educational materials and enforcement. Mary Brennan actually designed the signs. They work very well with the existing signage that's around Belmar, but they show basically our vision for complete streets. Share the road, very important. Bikers, cars, pedestrians, and then the bike signage. The signage becomes even more important because we're limited where we can actually put bike lanes. So, all right. Some other things, areas that we discussed: St. Rose Grammar School, potentially serious injury to students during drop-off and pickup of children on school days. So working with the grammar school and also the public school to define safe routes to school. It's a program to do just as the title suggests. If students are walking to school, there should be safe ways to do that. It's supported by the New Jersey Transportation Council and Meadowlink. The committee feels this program or one like it should be evaluated. Groundwork and participation by local schools would be important. Also a cinder pathway placed along the roadway North Boulevard running along Lake Como. Okay, any questions with that? So we've broken the implementation down into 3 categories: 3 to 6 month plan, which we're in right now, 6 to 12 month plan, and then a 2 to 5 year plan. The next steps would be, basically, it helps everyone who lives here. It improves our mobility, enhance safety, improve quality of life, reduces congestion. It will also reduce a lot of the parking chaos in the high volume areas, and it would just make it a better, nicer town to live in and convey. It's sort of the cherry on top. Everything is happening, we're doing so much, more people are coming to town, more people are living here, investing here, and this just brings it all together. It's like a ribbon on the package. I end. Okay, so questions and what's next. In the back of your reports, we have a fairly detailed 3 to 6 month step, 6 to 12 month step, and a 2 to 5 year step. We are some things that we can do right away to get things moving with the county and state level, to get them to take responsibility and agree with us on how we can change the roadways. Some of those steps have already been taken. And then it's really signage, and then ultimately it's enforcement and education. And we've put some specific steps in there for that too. Question?
Council, want to go back around the days? There's a question for you.
Just turn it around, so you can hear it.
Now, can we put this report online? Sure. I mean, this is, you guys did a tremendous job on it. This is great. And thank you very much. I know this is, you volunteered to do this, and we appreciate that a lot. Any questions from the council for Kate?
Just on the one question, very at the end, you said a cinder path at North Boulevard for Lake Como. Where would you put that cinder path?
Specifically where adjacent to the curb or closer to the lake?
I mean, at some point, it's not even 6 feet wide
There's
between
not
the
some-
curb and the water.
It would require some study. One of the problems right now is people on that area who try to walk their dogs or even just walk in the area are confronted with traffic coming off Ocean Avenue, almost getting hit all the time. I did discuss it briefly with DPW Director Campbell, and we thought once the remediation was done with Lake Como that it could be looked at and possibly implemented. It was a concern that was raised by the people in that area.
Yeah, physically, I just don't know if it's wide enough unless you thought outside the box and we eliminated parking there and put some type of walkway there because.
It would have to be, we're talking about a fairly narrow cinder pathway that can sort of meander. There's stones there now, there's sea
Would
grass.
you be afraid people might lose their balance and fall into the lake from this
I would hope that we
narrow?
would construct things accordingly, you know.
I mean, it's really tight.
Well, I know.
Yeah. So that was one that jumped out to me, this
It's
cinder
not one of our
path.
major recommendations, but it was something that was brought to the committee and we felt
Yeah.
the need to address it.
And with the idea to be to link up with the borough of Lake Como and have
Correct.
them also do the path around.
I mean, they're wide enough
That's not wide.
where they could easily do it
Right.
and Spring Lake, but when it gets down to that northeast corner, I mean,
Yeah, sort of
the
like-
water is right,
North Boulevard. and-
yeah, it's so close to the
It's
curb.
also very dangerous to be walking, the
Very.
other sidewalk in the
Yeah.
street, particularly if you're walking the dog or something.
Who made that?
Yeah, I don't know. While I'm here, there's a couple of people I'd like to thank.
Real fast, just name.
Real fast.
Name for the-
First of all, Kate volunteered halfway through our project, and aside from being a participant in the committee, she was gracious enough to let us use her facility for our meetings, and we thank her for that. Secondly, many of the photographs you see in the report, we asked Bill McKim to help us out, and I'd like to personally thank Bill, and I think you'll see that the photographs in there help make our case that we will hopefully use this presentation with the state and county. That's why it's a little fancier than may be necessary for this group. And lastly, our PowerPoint presentation was developed with the cooperation of Colleen Connolly and Kelsey Quindes, who worked as an intern this summer. And I would really like to thank Kelsey for all her help in putting together the PowerPoint display and helping coordinate our final report.
All right, and just, sir, your name, for the
So,
record.
yeah, my Tom Burke, 10th Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. And thanks for your leadership on this, this committee. You've got to play the way. Thanks for being here. Thank you for volunteering as well, Kate. Former council president, Mary Brennan, would you like to come up and say anything? Don't you love being put on the spot? Well, she'll be around for photographs later. And you know, for as many people as we have in town, I think in a lot of ways we've been getting lucky that we haven't had any
Very lucky.
major, I mean, aside from Mary had an accident a year ago, 2 years ago, a year ago. But when you think about the intersections and how many people we have, the volume, the police department does a tremendous job keeping people safe, but I think it is time for us to take some proactive approaches as opposed to waiting for something to happen that none of us would ever want to ever see.
The last two words up there, what's next? We didn't really get into that. As was reported, the letter already went to Commissioner Fox requesting the road diet. But Union Avenue is scheduled to be resurfaced sometime this fall, early spring of next year. And our recommendations, including the bicycle lanes, the relighting, the crosswalks and what have you, will require the approval of the Monmouth County Transportation Department, engineering and traffic people. And Janice and I met with them on several occasions. In order to have them implement or agree with the changes that we recommended, they require two things. And I think they're probably part of what's next. One, they require that any recommendations that we do make in our report and feel are necessary should be adopted into our master plan, which would mean that the council would have to submit that just to the planning board review of this report to see if we wanted to include it. And secondly, they would like to see the engineering specifications that were submitted for the parking changes that were made for the current parking configuration amended to include the signage and the line, bicycle lanes and sharrows that we recommended in the report. They have sort of reviewed what we recommended, and that was their take on it. So to me, that's another next step. To the council submitted to the planning board, should you find it appropriate to do so.
Great, thank you.
Yes, something else that the committee talked about. It's not all the automobiles. Bicyclists and pedestrians have a responsibility also. We did talk about printing out materials, educational materials, to be given to both pedestrians if we see them crossing in the middle of the street or doing something they shouldn't be doing, and to bicyclists. I'm sure many of you have seen 2 and 3 bicycles abreast, and you can't get around them with your car. They're not supposed to ride that way. So it's a responsibility for all 3 groups, and we'd like to try to educate the pedestrians and bicyclists that they have a responsibility also. It's not just the automobile that's responsible.
One of the final steps, well, and then it's ongoing, is not only education, because a lot of people who do that don't know. They just don't know, but education and then followed up by enforcement, and that's an ongoing thing, because we can put up as many signs as we want. We're talking about doing a lot of signage, a lot of education on the roads, but it gets lost if it's not constantly reinforced. So working with the schools, because the kids grow up and eventually be the adults, and that would cover a lot, but then also, especially during tourist season, working with the tourists and the police department and just getting the word out there.
I remember being a kid in school, and every year we had the bicycle safety assembly, and that was where I learned you don't ride side by side, and you ride with traffic. You know, there was always somebody who was amazed that was the rule. They thought you were supposed to ride against the traffic. I think if we have signage, especially, in particular, something along Ocean Avenue that says, for bicyclists, ride single file. If we have signage, it makes it easier to enforce, because there's no excuse for, well, we didn't know. The sign's right there. That's one of the problems that I think, it's awfully easy to be understanding that they might not know, and they're just on vacation, and just trying to have a good time. But really what it is they're not safe. It's not safe for them, and it's not safe for somebody driving in a motor vehicle. And we need to make sure that people are safe.
In the report, we have some photographs of some areas where there are many, many, many bikes parked. And those are some of the areas that we're suggesting we focus on signage. So we know that they end up here. And some at the beach, some in town, some at 9th Avenue Pier. So wherever there is a congregation of bicycles on a regular basis, that's where we're thinking signage would be appropriate.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next is the Monmouth County Open Space Grant for community park improvements. This is a public hearing on this, and you have overheads for us?
I do, so you may want to come down off the dais. Sorry to keep you going.
This is how we got 4 million steps.
Want to keep it going.
Council members, thank you. So this is our, the official cause of this presentation is to hold a public hearing on the application for open space money through the County of Monmouth for McCleary Park. But we thought it would be beneficial to use this time to also go through a review of the park improvements and the steps that we've taken to date. So I'm actually going to start back in 2013, although I promise this won't be a very long history. After Hurricane Sandy, Mayor Council asked our engineer to create a new schematic to greater use the amount of space over McCleary Park and maximize its recreational use. This was the design that was created in 2013, which largely showed a shifting of active recreational uses up to the north end and making a large open space at the south end. This is the design that we used as our template as we held community meetings and started seeking for state and county money. These are just a brief history. We've had many community hearings and discussions on this matter. This is actually our 6th to date on this project. Some have been here at Borough Hall, but most actually have been near the Rhode Island Point area at the Turnstile Pond. We have essentially chased funding wherever we could try to find it. We have highlighted as a priority almost immediately after Sandy the need to replace the bulkheading along McCleary Park. We have applied for HMPG funding through FEMA and state OEM back in 2013 and again in 2014. Not only have we not been awarded those monies, but most of the HMPG projects have not been awarded. And I can speak on that later if anyone has questions. We've also applied for Green Acres funding to replace the bulkhead, and we will continue to apply for Green Acres money to replace the bulkhead. What I didn't replace up here is that we are also working with DEP Coastal Engineering to try to work out the money for the bulkheading project, which we estimated about $5 million. The park improvements itself, we've applied to Green Acres, and we were awarded $825,000 in grants and a low-interest loan. That award came in earlier this year. We applied and were awarded $250,000 from the Monmouth County Open Space Phase 1. Tonight we're talking about Phase 2 applications being generated. So far we're talking over $1 million, over $1 million in grants that have been found. Donated improvements since the storm include the really magnificent Ed Brown Playground, as well as borough-made improvements. We finished the walkway, didn't replace it quite as it was that Sandy took from us, but we've completed the walkway, landscaping, and 2 recreational stairways that are enormously popular. Over the last 2 years, we've received a lot of feedback from the neighborhood and the community in general. A request to create a safer entrance and exit for the park, which is convenient that we're here the same night as our pedestrian bicycle safety committee. This L Street intersection and the entrance into and out of the park. As anyone who uses that park knows, you sometimes feel like you're taking your life in your hands to get in and get out. There was feedback to replace what was a basketball court on this plan with bocce ball courts. You can see this white area here was originally basketball. The plan originally went down to 2 tennis courts, and a lot of feedback came back that they wanted to have 4. And to replace any quote-unquote pavilion with actually a mobile bathroom and shade structure. This was a really great suggestion that came from the community meetings where if we are going to have a structure down there to serve as the restrooms, it should be removable. So in advance of a large storm coming, it can be removed, taken to higher ground, and then taken back after the storm so that the town does not lose that asset. We took all of that feedback into consideration and actually modified our Phase 1 award to Monmouth County Open Space to do all of those things. Essentially create funding for 4 tennis courts, a bathroom trailer, a shade structure, and 2 bocce ball courts. Now I want to comment here real quickly that the total grant award, the total project cost for this Phase 1 is $515,000. $250,000 will be coming as a grant from Monmouth County Open Space. What's really lovely about how all this is getting structured is the town is not going to be fronting the additional $250,000. We can use Green Acres money to do that. So we can use different grants to piggyback with each other to minimize taxpayer investment. This resulted in a modified design, which we were proceeding with up until about, I'm going to say a month ago, when we held a last community meeting at Turnstile Coffee and received some additional feedback from the neighborhood. The additional feedback we received was that there was a preference to leave the tennis courts in their present location, not to move them to the north end. To increase parking as much as possible, but evenly distribute it across the park so that it's not all concentrated at the north end or the south end, that it's parking along the entire park. And to increase our search for finding funds for the bulkhead replacement. So, forgive my crude drawing here, but this was essentially for our ability to work with our current funders. We can leave the tennis courts in their present location. So you can see where I drew a little arrow up there to send the tennis courts back to where they are now. To increase parking but evenly distributed across the park, we are able to do that and try to get funding for that in phase 2. And then to find funds for bulkhead replacement, as I started the presentation, we continue to apply for funding from anybody who might have bulkhead money for us. So that brings us to phase 2 application. In phase 2, and I'm going to go through that slide next, is parking lot improvements, which would be that entire parking strip along the length of the park, lighting for the parking area, walkway and boardwalk lighting. Anyone who's been out there walking early morning or after dark, you know right now it's not lit, not even with the knee height bolster lighting. The utility work to go with it, and new grills and picnic tables, which have been in demand and sorely need a replacement, especially those poor grills that are at an angle, and I'm never quite sure how people make their food stay on there. So this is our revised site plan. This is reflective of the feedback we've gotten in recent weeks. This shows a parking area that would be included in phase 2 that would run along the length of the park. Again, what this does is allows us to create an intersection, an entrance right here at L Street, governed by a light that we would be working with DOT to make longer and ensure that there's safe entrance and exit from the park. What we will do is have a paved driveway. The part that you drive your car down, the length of the park would be paved, but the parking area would be grass pavers. These are interlocking hexagon-shaped plastic pavers that we have grass grow up in the middle of, and it allows for greater permeability. It helps us with a lot of our green acres equations. We will also pick up over 30 slots. I think it will end up being between 30 and 40 slots that we pick up for parking. Also in phase 2 would be picnic tables and grills in this area, and lighting here along the boardwalk. Phase 1 is a highlight in blue, so parking, so tennis courts staying where they are. This is the underground playground existing. This would be the mobile bathroom, and this would be bocce courts. So what we attempted to do was to take everyone's feedback and work with our grantors to kind of distribute things around the park. So with that, I can take questions from council, and then we can open up a public comment on phase 2. Are there any comments or questions from council, or do you want to dive right into public comment?
We're going to have council first.
Sure.
So I'll call you. Any comments, questions from
Yeah, I have a couple questions. Colleen, was there any plans to light the tennis courts? Because I know many tennis players would like to play when it's dark. However, the neighbors across the street do not want the lights there. So I would think we would be helping our neighbors that live across the street not to have lights for the tennis courts.
There is nothing in this phase of funding or anticipated that
Great.
includes lights for the tennis courts.
Great. Also, I find that you said the grass pavers with the cement. Usually when I go over there or I go into a park, if I'm on the gravel, I tend to go slower because there are going to be children around. So, and maybe even a cost savings to just have the bluestone gravel there.
It's a good suggestion.
Simply because people don't want to go fast because they know it's going to, shake up the stones and scratch their car or dent their car. So they have a tendency to go slower, which I think is safer all around.
It's a good suggestion.
And third, we had bocce ball courts over there, probably in the very late 80s, early 90s, and they went unused except for seagulls. And the seagulls tended to drop the shells and crabs onto the clay, which made it a mess, and people didn't want to play there. So we eventually tore them out. I mean, when we had the bocce ball courts over at what is now Dempsey Park, before it was paved over, it was very popular. But when we paved over Dempsey Park and moved the bocce ball courts over to the river, they went unused.
Okay.
I don't think we would really be missing anything if we eliminated the bocce ball courts, and we'd probably be gaining more grass area for the kids to play. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Colleen, moving the turn into the parking lot, I know a lot of people from the Rhode Island section of town walk across, coming down these other streets, Maplewood, Pine Tree. Is there any way to just walk straight across and get into the parking lot? Right now, there are bushes, except there are a couple of openings.
At L Street, there will be a pedestrian entrance there.
But nothing, so you would have to walk all the way down to L Street. You wouldn't be able to cross at Oakwood or Pine Tree.
No, not right now, the way this is constructed, but it's something that we can talk about.
Councilman?
Yeah, Colleen, to expand on Jen's question, I mean, part of the problem across from one of those side streets is the fact that there's vegetation planted there now. Now, did Borough plant that?
No, that was DOT streetscape.
Is there anything we can do to get them to move it?
Well,
Besides
we could
ask?
certainly work with them to modify it, to create pedestrian entrances or something of that sort.
Okay.
I wouldn't want to do that without a crosswalk.
Yeah, I'd be weary of people
Just darting
Yeah.
across
playing
the
chicken
road.
and running across
I
35.
would think the state's not really a big fan of putting in crosswalks right over there on that part of the highway. It's awfully dangerous right at the curve. You know, because my wife and I lived over on Maple when we first got married, and I remember crossing there with our kids, and it was, you know, although it took longer, it was definitely safer just to walk down to the light and just sort of wait.
This is part of what the pedestrian bicycle committee has been talking about, this road diet. We're talking about from 2 lanes in each direction to 1 lane in each direction, and
Yeah.
trying to slow the traffic down. So we're hoping that that would make it a little bit easier and safer to walk across.
Yeah.
So if that happens, then pedestrians will want to be able to walk straight down their street rather than having to walk all the way down 35 to L Street.
The only other comment I had to make, I mean, I know you and I discussed what the community feedback was at the last meeting about keeping the tennis courts where they are, and this is the first time I've really noticed it. Looking at this diagram, I'm not so sure we're not shortchanging the community by splitting up the passive green space into 2 sections, 2 smaller sections, instead of keeping it as 1 large section. That was one of the very attractive parts of the first plan.
Well, and I believe that's why the architect went in that direction, was to
Yeah.
create a very large plot of
Yeah.
open space. But as with all things, as we start to workshop in the community and get the real feedback of how people feel about it, I think it's a pretty natural evolution now to look at
Well,
what we're suggesting.
when it's time for public comment, I'd be appreciative if anybody sees the same kind of thing I'm seeing.
What I see, Tom, is if you separate them, then you won't have soccer teams or lacrosse teams now playing near where people are picnicking.
That's the idea.
So if you had one big area and a soccer coach or a lacrosse coach brought their players over there, obviously balls would be going into someone's
Right.
barbecue.
Are we still thinking about keeping it, like, it's fenced in now, there's a fence separating the athletic field portion of the park from the playground area? We're still thinking of keeping it like that? Well, then that makes more sense.
It's an undersized field already, it's
Yeah.
non-regulation.
But we only have 2 in town, so I'd hate to lose one of the 2.
Right, and it doesn't make sense to fence, even if it's all in one big parcel, it doesn't make sense to fence.
Yeah,
that.
they you know, like we had last meeting where someone complained about people on the beach throwing a football.
Yeah.
And then now we're gonna have kids kicking soccer balls into someone's picnic.
Right. Okay.
Sure.
I want to first thank you for making this a possibility.
Yeah.
Chasing after this grant money. This is a tremendous amount of money to be spent on this critical project. We did task our engineers just looked at what's the most efficient use of the space. And then we've gotten public feedback, which has been great. We really appreciate it, so we put something there that people want. But I think it's important for us to recognize that this is the discussion we're having is a high-class problem. We're trying to figure out how we spend this money in the best way possible to make improvements in Cleary Park. And the other thing that's important to stress, and it's going to take time before we do get money for the bulkhead. But this money also has an expiration on it as well. So one of the things we task our engineers with is ensuring we can make these improvements on the land side, I guess you would say, on the surface, and then go back later and repair the bulkhead that needs to be repaired. We just don't have money for it. So if we waited and said we're not going to do anything to the bulkhead first, we end up losing this money that another town, if I was another town, I'd try to snatch up. So one of the things our engineers did a great job with, from Mazer, who also lives in Belmar, did a great job with is coming up with a design that we can do now while we continue to advocate for and chase down the money for a new bulkhead for the Cleary Park that it's sorely in desperate urgency. So now this is a public hearing, so we're opening up to the public. Ma'am, you have your hand up. You want to come up to the microphone? Just state your name and address. Just come up to the microphone. And just take your name and address for the record.
My name is Janet Brasinos. I live at 1206 Briarwood Road, Belmar, New Jersey, and I've been here for 55 years.
Ma'am, just to address the council.
Pardon?
If you could just address the council.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No problem. No problem.
This is Connolly.
Yes, ma'am.
This is Peter. This is the first thing I've heard about this park that you want to redevelop that I believe does not need redevelopment. It needs to be cleaned up, yes. As far as the bathroom goes, Hurricane Sandy did a lot of damage, but it did not touch that bathroom. It's still standing. It's cement. I cannot see a bathroom going next to a kid's playground. I can't see a kid's playground being wherever you tiled over, where the kids play their little games and on their soccer games and everything, all these years. And then you want to put a driveway for cars to go in from Elm, they can tell a left-hand turn by the baby beach, going into the parkway, that the people that live on my side of Route 35 are going to look at cars. It's not fair. I'm a taxpayer. I'm a voter. And I don't think it's fair. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Carolyn Woolley. I live at 1311 Road in Belmar. I live across the street from the building. I have something I'd like to say. I have lived in my little corner of Belmar for over 63 years. My mom and dad built my house. I raised 2 sons. Chris was a member of the first aid and a member of the Hook and Ladder Fire Department, like his grandfather and his uncle before him. Kevin worked summers through high school on the 5 a.m. crew cleaning the boardwalk and beach. Our hearts are here. I've seen many changes in this little town, and that is what it is, a little town. After Sandy, a friend of mine who used to live in Belmar, came to visit me. She was saying how terrible Point Pleasant Beach handled the aftermath. I was boasting about how great Belmar. I showed her all the flyers that were handed out, how every day someone called to see if I needed anything. I am a quiet, law-abiding person. never wanting to make waves and always ready to smooth them out. Now, Mayor and Council, you have ruffled my feathers. I have watched in the field in front of my house, kids in Pop Warner, kids learning lacrosse, people playing catch with their dogs, kids playing soccer, Boy Scouts camping, the laughter of families, people just having fun. My brother even flew his model airplane there, and now you want to destroy that. You keep saying it's undersized. How can it be undersized for having fun? And by the way, there were 2 bocce courts there. They probably gave way to the boat storage. You claim that you had input from people neighboring in Cleary Park. Most of us didn't know anything about the meetings concerning it. I received no notice. I have received text messages about the seafood festival, about the sand castle contest. But could you notify someone that lives directly across from that field about a meeting concerning it? A neighbor wants to make a change to her house, and she has to notify everyone within 200 feet. Shouldn't the borough be required to do almost as much? I live less than 50 feet. Don't you think the people most affected should have been let in on the plans? People come to McCleary Park for what it is, to fish, have a picnic, play ball, have fun. And if all the 47 parking places that now exist are full, maybe that's enough people to enjoy what they came for. Restore it back to the gem it was. Most of the Rosa bushes are dead from being crowded out by all the weeds. The park is not maintained properly now, and you want to add more things to it. Restore the tennis courts. They don't need to be moved. Finish the boardwalk, put the fence back up. How can you propose a project for at least 5 years, knowing if you would receive a grant for the following phases? We are the people that live here, not being considered instead of people from out of town or out of state. This is our town. We pay the taxes. And shouldn't the Vulcan have priority? Thank you.
And again, it's feedback like that where we made changes. So in front of your house, there will be the field. You know, as far as notifying people, we had, I believe, Class 1 officers go door to door handing out flyers.
No, they didn't.
No, they didn't.
Probably didn't. Class 1 officers go door to door handing out flyers.
Then why didn't I get one?
I didn't get one.
We didn't get one.
Nobody on fire
I
got
can't
one.
explain, but I'll tell you, instead of doing the first 911 one or anything like that, we took the extra step of having people actually go and flyer the community when we had meetings at Turnstile. So I apologize you didn't get one.
But nobody did. You have numbers of people saying they didn't.
We did as much as we could to notify everyone. And again, we appreciate the feedback. And you know, we're just trying to figure out a way to spend this money in the most efficient and effective way for people in Belmar. And I can tell you that the ideas for the park did not come from anyone outside of town. It came from people inside of town who wanted to see something done with the park. As far as maintaining it, I think our Department of Public Works does a very good job maintaining that and all the facilities in town. I respect the distribution, and I do go there with my kids at the playground. So I understand that you don't want anything obstructing your view in that one area. We're going to design it so it doesn't. So, you know, the last thing you may have seen or heard was an older design, which is why I want to bring and show you the new designs today. But thank you for your comments, I appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Terry Ruskauskas, 912 13th Avenue. Pardon my appearance, I was kayaking before I came over. I want to compliment Colleen for finding those funds. I know that's very difficult, and I think that's really wonderful. I also want to say I want to compliment you for the fact that I do think what you presented tonight was pretty responsive to the feedback that was at the Turnstile meeting. The mayor, I have to say that there's nobody I've met in the community that feels that they were informed about the different meetings. So the fact that none of us know somebody that was really involved in these is a concern. I'm not saying that there wasn't proper notice. I'm just saying none of us have met somebody that is. Unfortunately, the politics in town have gotten to be very polemic. And when you put that with something like this that's so passionate from the neighbors, I just want to encourage the neighbors to be, have their ears open and offer their support. But I also want the town to please demonstrate, like Colleen did tonight, that she listened from last week. Because everybody's either 100% with the council in town or 100% against the council in town. And this would be a great opportunity to mend a lot of fences that have unfortunately come about in Belmar. The politics are ugly in our beautiful town. And here's a really good opportunity for the community to work with the council and restore McCleary Park and move forward in a way that's productive and happy for all the people that have lived there a while. So I just want to encourage a partnership. And I do think it's possible. Thank you.
Just name and address for the record.
Ellen Ramey, 710 8th Avenue. We had a cookout at McCleary Park, August the 22nd.
I'm sorry, we can't hear you.
Just a little closer. You can talk to the council just a little closer to the mic.
We had a cookout, August the 22nd at McCleary Park. It was wonderful. I was approached by a man from town that says this will be the last cookout in the park. And for these people to get up here and say that they didn't know anything about it, I don't believe it. And I refuse to believe it. Because he didn't know me from Adam, and I still don't know him. And he wanted me to give a statement, which I didn't do. I said, whatever they do, it'll probably be for the best of Belmar, not for the worst. As long as I've been here, that's all I have seen. Everything working for the best of Belmar. Now, is this another way for them to start another petition to stop this plan from going through? We got to stop it.
I can assure you that you and your family and friends will have a cookout again in Great Park next year. Yes, ma'am.
Sure. I'm Mary Hall from 1217 Maplewood Road in Belmar, and I have a couple questions. Is this, are we now discussing phase one?
Yep.
No, so phase one is completely gone. Okay. Where is the, oh, but let me just clarify something. Where I believe that a grant is money that does not have to be paid back, but when you mention a grant, you then say at either a low, either an interest rate or a loan. Are these grants loans, or are they money that's been awarded, not as a loan, but as a grant, a traditional grant?
It's a great question. These are matching grants. So the Monmouth County grant that we're discussing tonight is a match. It's $250,000 max you can get from the county, and you would match it with $250,000 at the local level. You can use another grant as your match. So we were awarded the $825,000 in Green Acres money.
Awarded, let me just clarify,
Sure.
but when you kept referring to things as a loan, what specific monies are we talking about that will be a loan and not a grant?
Sure.
Because I'm really, I can't follow you on that.
No, it is complicated, so I'm glad you asked the question. The Green Acres money is a grant and partial grant and partial low-interest loan. If you choose to take it, you don't have to take it. And if you do take it, you can use your other investments as your match. You can use open space money. You can use the Brown Playground as a donated item. You can use other items that the town has already done. So our plans for phase one would have zero impact on the tax base.
Because you're not going to take the loan portion of it.
Or if we do, we would only take as much as we can offset with our other investments.
Okay. This brings me back to another item that may be unrelated, but if our whole budget was put online, every year, every dollar, every gift card, every project, every bonded amount, every loan amount, like other municipalities in the United States, along with last year's budget and the proposed budget for next year, it would be a lot easier for me to be able to read that, because I'm already confused about whether something is a grant or a loan. And that makes a difference, because I think that's irresponsible to do all of this and never say, this is how much money the taxpayers are going to be responsible for. And this is how much is being awarded by a grant application, which I always believed was a non-loan entity.
Yeah, but most grants have a match to it.
Oh, but that's, I'm not talking about a matching thing, but a matching, so you're saying that any matching grants would have then a loan associated at that? I've been at a couple of the coffee shop meetings, and at the previous one that you both said that there was $1.6 million that you already have to do all this work. Now, why are we not doing the bulkheads first with that? Why, if we have that much money, why can we not start the bulk in either one?
That money was not awarded for the bulkhead, ma'am.
It was an award.
It
So
was not
you said
awarded
that
for the
we had
bulkhead.
this money already. Where is that, what was that money supposed to be used for?
The money that's been awarded is what we've gone over tonight.
No, I'm saying at the coffee shop, you said we had one, when I said to you, how much of this grant money had you gotten? You said to me, that's not how it works. And then I said, well, how does it work? And you said that we already have $1.6 million.
Awarded.
Well, you didn't use that word, so I didn't know that was an award. But you said we already have that. So is that something that you have already set aside for this project or for repairs? Where is that I'm confused also on the 1.6 million.
All the money we're talking about is applied for. So in the application, you have to tell them what you're going to use it for. You can only use it for what you applied for. So you can't say, hey, give us $1.6 million and we're going to go put in new streetlights on Main Street, or go use that to put in a bulkhead.
No, I can follow that concept, but I'm saying at that meeting, you said we already had that 1.6. Was that for phase one that's no longer existing? And how do we keep that money if there's no more phase one?
No,
What is
and I
that?
apologize if I didn't express myself that clearly. This slide really talks about, and this is all online, you can see it on our website. This talks about the green acres of money that was awarded, and Monmouth County open space, phase one that was awarded. We are also pursuing phase two. I believe, I don't have those numbers all tallied up in my head right now, but I believe we are at the 1.3, almost $1.4 million mark. Those first two categories have been awarded, but they are reimbursement grants. That's how they work. We do work.
What is reimbursement grant?
It's like
A loan?
you have to spend the money first, they make sure you did it the right way, then they reimburse you.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
So when I said that we have $1.6 million already, I was maybe rounding, so I apologize if I
That's
misspoke.
okay.
But I meant awarded, and awarded for what the grants approved. They did not approve the bulkhead. We actually went to Green Acres with a $7 million grant application that would get us a bulkhead. They chose to award us $825,000 just for park improvements.
So we have to come up with the money to repair the bulkhead someplace if we're not getting the money from the traditional way of doing it?
So we're going to continue to pursue grant money from the state and the county, from anyone, for the bulkhead.
Okay. It's just that the tennis courts and the box, none of that protect the land and the people and the property like a bulkhead would. So,
You're absolutely right.
so
You're absolutely right.
all of this seems to be putting the, cart in front of the horse there.
I understand that, but you got to remember, if we applied for it, if they didn't grant it to us, they granted us other money to use. If we don't use them, we lose them. So if we waited, let's say the bulkhead money came in 4 years from now, and in that time we don't do anything with Cleary Park, we lose the money we had to make those improvements to the bathrooms, to the
Which is the grants or the loans?
which
Awarded this
which are
money
the,
that you're talking
right,
about?
which are the grants and loans that have been awarded specifically for these projects that can't be used anywhere else in town, can't be used anywhere else in McCleary Park. It's got to be just for what we designed it for.
Okay.
What we applied for, sorry.
And so since we don't have phase one anymore,
did we start any bidding on this project when it was phase one? We're applying for permits or?
Well, tonight's presentation is just about, I mean, she recapped it, which was nice of her, but it's really just about phase two. And all this is a public hearing that we're required to have just to apply for the money.
I know, but I've been at 2 of the coffee shop meetings, so I was trying to be involved in following this, but I seem to, phase one just seems to disappear, or has it been evolved into that? And then what about the permits and the grant money application? When we move to quote a phase two, is this same application going to be redone for that same funding, whether it's a grant or a loan?
You have to go through this process every time there's a new bundle of money open for grants. Phase one didn't go away. Phase one was approved, and we've worked very hard to ensure that the relocation of the tennis courts back to their current location, as we heard feedback from the neighborhood, would be allowed. And so we've spent a lot of time in this last month getting that approval, that we can put the tennis courts back where they are. That is phase one. We are poised to go out to bid on that later this year.
And remember, this is just a public hearing to apply for phase two. We could get turned down for phase two money. They may say you don't get anything.
Right, which brings me back to my major concern that the bulkhead should be the first and only priority before we gussy up the area, which, yes, it needs to be cleaned up, and that's a wonderful thing. But moving tennis courts instead of just resurfacing the ones that were there seemed like a foolish financial idea to me. So that's what.
Well, I believe the tennis courts are remaining exactly where they are.
Yeah.
Okay, but so there's no misinformation. The tennis courts are remaining where they are today.
Can I just?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I would like to see this, and I'm just throwing this out there. I'd like to proceed as a zoning board application, where an applicant is required to use negative criteria when asking for a change of use. Negative criteria would be incumbent upon the board to prove to the public and to prove to people that this would not be a detriment financially or from design-wise to the residents. Now, in zoning board applications, someone can't just get up and say, well, I want a change of use, I want to make my house into a hardware store because we need one in this area. They would have to use negative criteria to prove that it would not be a detriment to that neighborhood. And I'd like to see that this whole project be encumbered to prove that it's not going to be financially a risk to the residents, because eventually all these bonds that are being posted, we have to pay that back. Every awarded grant, which is really has a matching loan component to it, has to be paid back. And these numbers are, the project cannot be done with just those numbers that are up there. I think we looked at $500,000 and some odd $1,000. And I know you're saying that that was phase one, or now we're looking at phase two, but it's just, I think that we owe it to the residents who are going to be paying back this money to actually have a dollar amount. If we don't get that grant money, if it doesn't come to pass that way, how much are we going to be left on the hook for? And then will the council be posting another bond to pay for this?
Well, if any of that comes to pass, it will be very public and open and transparent. But again, hopefully, we are granted money for phase two. You know, I think it's worthwhile as a community to apply for it. They may turn us down, but to not apply for it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
And if I may add, if we were approaching this as one $7 million project, we would be talking about a $7 million bond tonight. That wasn't the express wish of council. Your direction to me was to find a way to implement this at minimal expense to taxpayers, carving it up into phases if necessary, which is what we have done. So we have carved it into phases to allow for the grants to be obtained and construction to be completed without it looking half done. So that's why phase one, tennis courts, restroom, and the famous bocce ball. Phase two would be the enhanced parking, utilities, and new grills.
Right, so let's say we get no money for phase two. At least we can do phase one and make that improvement to the park.
Right.
Then we get bathrooms.
Right, and I'm just saying that I'd rather, even though the park really needs some sprucing up and it doesn't need to have the parking spaces doubled, because if we put in a whole new parking lot and then leave all that previous parking as grass it's still more parking.
And I don't know, how are we allowed to use open, or Green Acre space for, and pave over? How are we allowed to do that if a lot of that part, we're allowed to
Green
do
acre
that?
space doesn't necessarily mean the space has to be green. It can be a variety of uses, it's just gotta be open. And
As
the
parks,
feedback
like-
we received from residents in your area was that they wanted more parking spaces there because it's a very popular park. And if you make improvements, even if you resurface the tennis courts, it's gonna be more popular, and they'd rather not have those folks parking on Briarwood, or Oakwood, or Pine Tree Way, so instead have them parking at the park. So the reason why we were looking to add more parking spaces isn't on a whim, it's because that's the feedback we received from the residents in that neighborhood.
At those two meetings that I was at, people were not asking for more parking at those two. So I guess I missed the ones where people were asking for.
The last one, actually, yes,
Yeah.
the gentleman asked for the
Yeah.
last one.
Miss, can I just ask you, how, you said you were at the 2 meetings at Turnstiles. Do you
Yeah.
remember how you heard about it?
I got an email from someone who told me, I don't drink coffee or tea, so I would never go there and know about it, but someone had said, go to that meeting, they're talking about the park. And that was the 2 years ago when you were discussing, when I walked in, you were discussing the flyers that they were handing out for the scuba stairs. And that was the first one that I was at. What was that, 2013?
That was 2013,
13, I believe.
I believe.
So someone had told me go to that new coffee shop because they're going to discuss that there, and that was the first one. So, and then I just felt like I've been in the loop about what's going on, and then someone from Briarwood told me about, that this meeting was going on, so.
Thank you.
But, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I have something else to go to, so I'm going to turn this over to Brian McGovern, our council president. The next thing is, in my absence, Brian will blame everything on me.
He's going to be elected dog catcher.
So I never enjoy
I should go for that. Really? Very convenient. Very convenient.
Transparency, it's fun.
That's ridiculous.
I wonder if you'd leave if this was an inlet terrace conference.
Whoa, there goes a lot of stones.
Okay, we'll continue this talking on the Woodbury Park. Ted?
Yeah.
I really have to clear up some things for the record. The diagram up there, what is it? On the 21st, I opened April for a whole bunch of designs. First, I had to get the invoices from Mazer to find out what was billed for and what was going on with the Cleary Park bill-wise. Then I opened April for a whole bunch of designs and the concept plan, all right, the new concept plan. So that was I got it on the 21st, and if you take out the weekend, the concept plan, which I shared with my neighbor there, Carolyn, was the only one available. I blew it up. This is what I got from our borough office, this concept plan. Now, of course, it's much different from that, but you have to understand that I just got this on the 21st of August, which means that the plan up there and any changes are from the 21st of August till now. And if you take out the weekend, how many days is that?
I'm not doing the math.
7 days, right? It's about 7 days, correct? So I gave a copy of this to my neighbor, so she came up and gave her impassioned thing about it. Well, the fact is that right after I got the OBRA from April, I got the complete application for phase 1. that you guys all approved and approved Colleen to do back last September. And anything related to the funding. They didn't have this yet. They did not have this yet as of the end of August. So anything we're talking about here is so recent that even open space, Monmouth County Open Space, did not have it a week ago. So trying to catch up with things. Now, I have problems with, probably not the first time, Colleen, but you started the presentation saying there were 6 public meetings. And I'm pretty old, but can you tell me the 6 and where they occurred?
Sure, go right up there.
Okay, what do we have?
And these will be on the website.
Turnstile.
Borough Hall, Turnstile.
Wait, August 5th.
And today
How was
makes
that
sense.
advertised?
And today makes sense.
The ones at Borough Hall were advertised in the Post-Star, I believe.
And what was it called in the legal notice?
Same thing as for tonight. So.
It would have been Greenacre though.
But it would have been a public hearing for a grant.
Greenacre though.
Could have been.
Well, it has to have been because you didn't do the application for phase 1 for open space until last September, and it mailed here, or was received by then 9/17. Okay, so okay, thank you for answering that. Now, Colleen, which of these
Ted,
meetings
just,
have...
don't pick on
All right,
Colleen.
I won't. But Brian, you weren't at the turnstile meetings, and Colleen was at all of them. So you may have to guess.
I wasn't at all of them, correct.
All right, were minutes taken at the turnstile meetings?
Would you like me to answer them?
Colleen, can you answer that?
Minutes are not taken. I mean, I make notes, I jot down notes,
Okay.
usually for things for me to follow up.
So it wasn't an official borough meeting. It
Okay,
was-
so 4 out of the 6 minutes weren't even taken, so that there is a record of who was there, who commented, because there's like dozens of people right now running around Rhode Island Point trying to figure out who asked for 4 tennis courts, and nobody can figure out who that was. So the minutes would really be helpful in the future.
Well, I was at that last meeting, and I know at the last meeting, it was showing the tennis courts being moved over to closer to L Street Beach. And one of the biggest recommendations was leaving the tennis courts alone where they were, which is 4 courts, which is, they've been there for 35, 40 years, so.
Right, but the decision, but see, the thing is, as I said, when I opened Monmouth County Open Space, not only was the gal so great, because it was a 234-page application from Belmar, and she gave me all the emails back and forth between Mazer, Colleen, and Open Space. So that's where we have some problems with things that are being shown up there instead in terms of when it happened and really the truth of the matter.
Cut to the chase, this is what we've got right now.
Okay.
So let's not
Well,
look in the past.
well,
This is
no.
what we got now. Let's move
No,
forward with this.
here's what you got. If you really want to know, Brian, as somebody who deals with government all the time, we have been approved, right, for a $250,000 matching grant with Open Space. We have approved, but if you read the fine print all through the application, and you read everything that's in our application that we agreed to, we have to comply with their deadlines, and they at any point, they can come and say, because now we have changed twice since June 3rd, phase 1. We've come back to them twice since June 3rd to change phase 1, which was awarded to us December of last year. There's a time when it has to begin, construction has to begin, correct, Colleen?
And when can that be? When?
We're looking to start this fall.
No, well, when does it have to begin?
I have to pull the letter for phase 1.
Okay, when does it have to complete?
Sir, I'd have to pull the letter for phase 1. I don't have phase 1 filed.
Okay.
But the good answer there was we plan on starting this fall.
All right, Brian, are the permits done for phase 1?
I would think so,
In the
right?
process.
No, they had to be done today. That's one of the deadlines.
This is for comment on phase 2 application. I would just encourage.
Well, I think it's, again, let's not get nasty because, as you admitted, there weren't minutes for 4 of the meetings that I attended in Turnstile. There were no minutes. And you had the benefit of doing a review from phase 1 to now, and we're not allowed, as the people who are going to have this park that's right in front of us change in the next several months, we don't have the right to bring up phase 1?
Thank you, Ted.
I'm not done.
Oh, you know, okay, I don't want to, there's other people in there, I see their
There's
hands
no
up.
time limit, it's a hearing.
I know, but they're, look behind you. There's other
Let
people.
him talk. Let him go ahead, you go.
Let him talk.
I'll give him my turn.
I'll really make it brief, Brian, but it really gets to the crux of it. And it was somebody who's running for council this year, Tom Burke, who wrote recently about the system of checks and balances. So I was addressing some of the problems that I saw just now with the people who were one of the checks and balances. The planning board has never been involved in this. This is, when you look at a concept plan, which was presented to 30-some people, sat in a drawer until it was presented here, 9/9 of 2014. That is a total redo of McCleary Park. Yes, things have changed now in the last week, but for the last 3 years, we had a concept plan. Not once did the planning board get involved in it. Not once. And you heard, this is why, I really appreciate where Carolyn's coming from, is because 2 years ago, she was going to have a parking lot right, I was just in her home, it's beautiful. You can see the athletic field and you can see the Shark River. What was planned was 4 tennis courts back there with a 12-foot high fence and a parking lot here. That drastically changes her view, it also changes her property value. People, last 2 years ago, the main entrance was to be at Briarwood, with a light there. Nobody was informed of that. And that was not changed until June of this year. So for over 2 years, the plan was, and it's in the phase 1 application to Monmouth, that there be a new entranceway, main entranceway, right there at Briarwood, and so there would be a light there, and you go across and come out from Briarwood. That's a fact.
Okay.
All right. So that, again, the planning board needs to be involved in this. If you recall what happened with the pavilions, that there was, at least the pavilion designs were online, not today, they were not when the meeting was, but they were online for a while. There was a meeting here of the committee that you were on, and the plans were shown, there were revisions, there were 2 meetings by your committee. And then there was plenty of discussion. And there was one at the planning board. Nothing like this for this. And this is a whole redo of our neighborhood park. And finally, the council. Council. You've been only involved in, as far as publicly and with comment, as a whole body of the council, you've only been involved in the hearings which are required by Monmouth County Open Space. But not once, and this concept plan, the original one, has been in existence since 1/18/2013. And there was never any involvement on the council on a whole concept to redevelop McCleary Park. Thank you.
Thanks, Ted. Your name? And
My name is Linda Weinstein, 1219 Maplewood Road.
Sure.
Well, I have so many concerns, I hardly know where to start, but I'm going to limit myself to 2.
Thank you.
First one is, the mayor, before he left, mentioned about how this was going to be an open and transparent process. This has been anything but. Having 4 meetings at Turnstile and only 2 at the borough, Only 2 had to be notified. Everything else is this little tiny thing, let's try and notify as few people as possible. That's what it feels like to me. That may not have been your intent, but that's what it feels like to me, and I suspect everyone else. Everyone in this town should be concerned. Yes, we live here, right at the park, so yes, we have a bigger concern, but the park is used by much more than us, and everyone should have been notified for all these meetings.
Okay, you know what, I bet you there's people in Rhode Island Point right now that don't know about today's meeting, and they're gonna say a month from now, you never told us, we didn't know anything about it. It's probably impossible to get everybody in Rhode Island Point about the meetings that we've had. It doesn't surprise you that people say, I never got the notice, I never got the email, and never got the letter in the mailbox. That's
do for everything else.
very possible. But we're trying our best to get the word out to you. We're not trying to hide anything from you. Truly, that park has been there. This money is going to make that park better, and you're really not going to see much of a change to anything except it's going to be nicer. It's going to be improved. Tennis courts, oh my goodness, they needed to be rehabilitated 15, 20 years ago. And I don't think you can complain about redoing those tennis courts.
For me.
Okay,
But
point 2.
that was the issue was the
Right.
lack of transparency, not your intent. But secondly, by not having enough meetings, I don't know what the rule is here. Towns I've lived in before, you had to have a minimum of 3 announced meetings. And you only had 2. As I said, maybe that's the rule here, I don't know. But you have to be careful because what's
Mike,
going
is
to
that
happen.
a state rule, or is that just a policy of the town?
Well, you notified how many, there was 5 or 6 hearings, correct?
No, there
But
were no
the-
notices.
You're saying that just 2 are public meetings, so that we're not. But is there a rule that says to do an improvement of a town park, that there must be a minimum of 3?
It has to do with it being a resolution.
Anytime there's a hearing or a public action taken, it has to be.
How
Has to
many?
be noticed. Does that have to be 1 notice, 2 notices?
Well, you have to notice the meeting, which you
Okay.
probably did.
But it could be limited to just 1 meeting.
Well, it depends on how many meetings you have. If you have one, you usually.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, the next thing is that I want to talk about is the bulkhead. Now, I understand that it's very hard to raise this kind of money. I also understand this is not the sexy part of the project. This isn't something you can point to and say, look, it's now beautiful, because most people aren't going to see the bulkhead. But you're really putting the cart before the horse. You have no idea what damage is underneath the ground there. You can't see it. The only time you're going to find out is when you start digging it up to put in a new bulkhead. I would like to point you to what went on in Hoboken, New Jersey.
No, we don't want to hear about Hoboken.
Maybe, but
But
they suffered
Were
greatly
you
for
here when
not
this,
being
we
careful.
do not, Belmar does not have the money to do the bulkhead.
Understand, I'm just saying
Okay, we do
that-
not have it. So we can't start it if we can't pay for it.
I know that you want to spend the money that you've been granted, but I am telling you, all that money could be wasted. Because if the bulkhead collapses, after you've done all this work, it's going to have to be done again.
Thank you.
Bill Strauss, Bob 18 Oakwood. A couple of questions. I wanted to talk about the bulkhead and all the stuff you're doing here in these phase 2s and 3s and 4s, especially lining the boardwalk. If that bulkhead has to be repaired, I don't know, maybe Mike Campbell could tell us, is heavy equipment going to have to be used? Is it going to have to come from the marina, or is it going to have to come from the grass? You're going to tear up the entire stuff that you redo, the tennis courts, the athletic field, all that stuff is going to have to get torn up if you redo the bulkhead. So I know we don't have the money, but that's going to be a waste of money if you're spending this grant and you're going to have heavy machinery tear it up. The other thing is, the parking area, if you're entering there, how do you get out?
Or is there still going to be an exit at the,
You're still going to have an exit at Oakwood, right?
Yes.
same place it is now.
The place is now.
So,
Okay, so it's a one-way, basically.
for the most part, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
What's that little area next to the tennis courts? Is that an ice skating
To the
rink?
left or the right?
To the left?
That's it,
To the
Belmar.
Left.
That's the right.
What's that?
This is what was identified earlier on as phase 3, which is at least a year away from being thought of, which was the skate rink.
Skating rink?
Yeah.
Right.
Possible, but
Right.
it's completely conjecture now.
Where are the scuba stairs?
Well, I think they're just on the other, right about there, right?
But they're not on the drawing.
About there.
They're not?
This is the improvement stuff.
So,
Right, well, the tennis courts are there, well, how come the scuba stairs aren't there?
well, the tennis courts are gonna be improved.
Okay, I'm just, you know me, the scuba stairs are my baby,
They're fairly new, so,
and I don't want to see them disappear.
they're not disappearing,
We
Right,
also
unless
have
you go underwater.
We also have recreational stairs.
Right now, you know, the bulkhead has to be repaired, their stairs will be there, but they'll have to be taken out and put back.
Bill, if you were to ask me what should be done first, I'm gonna agree with you.
The bulkhead.
Bulkhead. But you know what? That's not the way the people write the rules say we have to do it.
The other thing,
Is it dumb? It sounds like it's a dumb idea.
the other thing though, is I think when we opened these plans and we didn't get them from the borough, we had to go to Monmouth County Open Space to get them. And when we got them, the plans we got were none of this. They were ridiculous plans that, and we were like, whoa, wait a minute.
But now you can see what we're talking about. Okay, there it is. So let's not go backwards, let's move forward. This is the plans for phase 2, possible phase 3.
What about the sailboats?
Sailboats, you mean the Friends of Belmar Harbor?
Are they up there anywhere?
They're,
We have reserved the same allotment of space that they have now for them, either to continue as they are with a.
right, that's an extremely successful recreational, and we would never want to lose that. I mean, if you have a marina or a bay like we've got, you know, let's keep the sailing program.
One last thing about the athletic field. I know somebody complained that it was undersized. Is that not a complaint anymore?
Bill, if this room was grass, I'd play on it. You know, I bring my soccer team.
I mean, it's a pretty big field.
It's not a soccer field should be in high school, should be 100 yards long by about 60 yards wide. Is it that? No, it's not. It's
high school.
It's too small for high school. It's probably too small for grammar school also. But is it big enough for practices? It's a great size for practice.
And to the right of the tennis courts, what's that little area there? It's kind of like not.
That's where the playground is.
That's Ed Brown
Playground.
Oh, is that the playground?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, you can't see anything. All
No,
right.
you can.
Okay. Yes. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
My name is Carol Ann Capoli, and I live at 402 9th Avenue. It's not a question, it's more of a statement that I seem to need to say. I believe that all the work that has been done is only in the best interest of all of us, even the people that live right next to McCleary Park. It seems to me that we're not doing a hell of a lot extra to make it change that much. Plus the fact that if we're gonna get this money, and we have money, I don't see what the complaint is about, because we're only gonna make what's there better. I know that if I lived across the street, which I don't, but if I lived across the street from McCleary Park, I would just love to see it be refurbished. Parking, I guess, I'm thinking of the parking, that might be something that will be changed, but maybe those people that don't have the parking there would be parking in front of my house, which we do have a lot of, because I live right by the beach. But that's part of the summer, and that's part of our livelihood. So I don't think that could be that much of a problem. So what I'm saying is, I think these improvements would only be better. The bulkhead is important, but if we don't have the money for it, we can't do it. But if we do have money, I don't see why we can't use it. So that's just my statement. I believe that everybody on the board, everybody on the council, we live here and we want the best for Belmar, and I hope you continue to do what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. A couple people at the Rhode Island Point mentioned, not enough meetings and we're not the input. I bet you 40 years ago, when the commissioners put in those tennis courts, they didn't ask the people in that neighborhood.
That's irrelevant.
You're right, but we're trying to get as much input so as not to do that again.
Don't make you feel better?
Council President McGovern, Council, good evening. Mike Sebeck, 110 Second Avenue. First off, I just want to generalize by continuing to appeal for transparency. Whenever anything's produced, put it online, share it, use the 911 system to notify everybody in the community. Because I know other people throughout the town are interested in projects like this because it affects all of us. As a coach, Coach McGovern, I coached lacrosse there with Tom Riley for many, many years. So I'm happy actually the park is remaining fairly stable. I think the money should be used to improve it. Tennis courts definitely need to be improved, et cetera, et cetera. However, one thing that I'm a little concerned about, and I'd like to address the council with a question, is the fact, has there been any kind of engineering study done in terms of what the useful life of the bulkhead is? The reason I ask this question is I have a friend who's an engineer who said the bulkhead is not failing catastrophically now. And he actually thinks there might be a lot more life left in the bulkhead than maybe some people assume, and there might be steps to remediate certain parts of the bulkhead that may be in worse shape than others, and by doing so, they strengthen the whole unit. So my question is, can you tell me, has anyone done like a useful life study and a condition on a boardwalk?
I would think that after the storm, engineers went around all around Belmar to inspect buildings, bulkheads, boardwalks, buildings, and I would think that they inspected it, and I don't know what their answer was.
Yeah, I didn't think you'd know that answer.
I didn't, but I would hope that the engineers, after the storm, said, let's look at the bulkhead.
Is that something that can be made available if there is such an engineering report? Because I think
Well,
that
we can probably get Dakotas to.
Yeah, I'm not sure an official study was done, but certainly we've always looked at it.
Yeah.
We have an eye to look at repairs in key areas.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing is the boardwalk's got 15 to 20 years left. It's actually a pretty massive structure. It's not like a lot of bulkheads are today, where it's concrete format and stuff. So maybe there's a little more life left in it than we think. The other thing is utilities and stuff. I hate to see us do work, no matter where the source of funds are, if we're doing work that has to be undone or redone. So I'd love to see people really take a good look at this, and I know things are moving around, and quite honestly, I want to compliment you, because if they're moving around because of feedback from the residents, they're moving around for the right reasons. So my compliments on that. But let's just make sure that as we're spending money, that we look at things like utility underground structures, that it doesn't take that much extra work to change a line and do something right the first time, and to make sure that as we're doing it, as some residents have expressed, we're not rolling over the work we did to redo. So again, I just want to greatly appeal for transparency, because all the people in this community are interested. We really are. Yes. And honestly, like I said, and I'm going to reiterate, you guys have responded to feedback from the community and changed some things in the park.
And not everyone heard
Not
about
everyone's
this.
ever going to be happy. You're absolutely right, and I agree with it. But a consensus can be reached where a lot of people can walk out of that room nodding their head saying, wow, they listened to us, they did a good job, and we appreciate it. And for that, I thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Yes, I don't know your name. Sorry for pointing.
Lori Brown, 1201 Briarwood Road. I have a lot of comments, questions, concerns. I have only been notified once, and that was from a neighbor. I've not been told of any meetings, and I live 50 feet away from this project. That's really disappointing, really, really disappointing. But I only find out about information unless a neighbor tells me. You know, I'm doing a great job. I know about the Seafood Festival, I know about everything going on in town, but what affects me directly. That's my comment on that. So you really need to improve that system.
Sure. Thank you. We'll work on it.
Okay, now, I guess phase one is just this, which is also phase two now. Is that a correct assumption? So now we're only looking at tennis courts, this long parking structure, bocce ball courts, and a bathroom, and I'm not sure what that rectangular green thing is there.
Bathroom part of
Picnic
phase
tables?
one. Bathroom part of phase one, and that grant's already been awarded. Right, the bathroom,
Right, the restroom, the bocce ball courts, and tennis courts are phase one.
yes, and that.
So what is changing in phase two?
We're
The
asking the
parking?
state, we're gonna apply for a grant to get the money to do what's marked on the parking lot, in particular, lighting and the boardwalk walkway, and putting grills and picnic tables. We're looking for the state to give us money, so we don't
Well, no,
have to.
I completely understand that, but now, since you're looking for feedback from the community, why can't we stop there? Why are we looking at phase three? Why are we looking at phase four?
It takes
We
so
need
long
to
to get
stop
all this
now.
done that you have to,
But you want feedback from your community.
yes?
The feedback from your community sitting here is stop building on the open space. We want you to stop. We want to leave it green open spaces. We don't want a 3-story sailing school in the corner. This doesn't benefit anybody but the sailing school. You may disagree, but that doesn't benefit any resident that lives across the street from it.
Unless the residents happen to have children who sail, like, why not?
Well, you know what, I have kids that play other sports, so should we slap up a 3-story building over there for a soccer field?
There's no plans for a 3-story building. There's absolutely no.
Well, there's certainly a plan for a structure for that sailing school.
They have a temporary structure now, and whatever, anything that
No,
might
there
be
there were
planned,
plans for a permanent structure on that.
anything that might be planned would be similar to what's there now.
That is gonna be a removable structure. That's very different than the turnstile meeting.
Ma'am, I can tell you,
The
there
last turnstile meeting I was
there
at.
are no plans for a 3-story
Okay,
structure for the,
so a structure, a permanent structure.
you know, no, I,
There's no plans, you agree, there's no plans for a permanent structure for the sailing school?
I think what you're thinking of, several years ago,
yeah, well,
the
when
Friends
Mike
of the
Nixon was
Belmar
in charge of
Harbor were talking about building a building over there for them.
That's not-
That's not the town council, that's not the town, that was the Friends of the Belmar Harbor. From what I understand, they never got nearly enough money,
Right.
and
The
we have
turnstile
an
meeting,
item
did they not
in
discuss
Rhode
a
Island,
permanent
also not heard
structure
anything about
there?
it.
They
Didn't they?
refused to address the issue that there was a building shown on the map.
Thank
They
you.
refused
I
to
didn't
address
think I
it.
was losing my mind.
Whoa.
Yeah, okay, Colleen, can you use my pointer?
I love this pointer, Brian. So what I can tell you is that we have preserved the same footprint of the sailing area on this new plan. There's a long-standing partnership that we've had with the FOBH. We want them to continue operating there. And so this area has been sectioned off just to signify where they are. And I hope that they clean up the area a little bit. I think sometimes it is a little unkempt as you go by. It'd be nice to have it battened down a little bit and stay within that footprint.
Right, okay.
Stay within that footprint with never being a permanent structure. Is this on, I want this on record. I want this in the
It's not in our
minutes.
purview.
It's not in our purview, we're not talking about phase 3 right now.
I know, but
And I'll be
I
honest
am.
with
That's not even phase 4 or 5.
This hearing is about phase 2.
There are other people who were at the turnstile meeting that I have spoken to that we are all under the same impression. So maybe we need to see revised plans for phase 3.
There's no plans for a FOBH, permanent 3-story structure.
Can't
Thank you.
we just stop building?
I'm telling you.
Leave it open spaces. Let's stop.
You mean you don't want tennis courts?
The tennis courts exist, fix them
Okay,
up, that's
and
great.
you need bathrooms because you're attracting people there. You have a playground there, you're asking people to
I'm not
barbecue
talking
there.
about phase 2.
The
I'm
only
talking about
structure that's
beyond.
gonna be there is the building structure would be the bathrooms, right?
No, and I thank you for your feedback, because I think what you're saying is that you are happy with phase 1 and 2, and that's what you would want to stop
Well,
at.
I'd like to see a lot less parking. A lot less parking.
But if you have less parking, then they're gonna be on the other side of the street in your neighborhood.
I don't care about that. But the more attractions and the more activities you keep putting over there, all I hear is all these parking issues. I don't think there is a parking issue personally. But you keep adding attractions, create more parking issues.
What
How about this? If
attractions?
you go up to the beach.
What new attractions, man?
Ice skating rink and,
Band
shell,
Band shell.
all these other things. All these things. If I want to go to the beach and there's no parking, I gotta go home, or I gotta walk, or whatever. If there's no more parking, you then go home.
Thank you. Mayor?
Yes, thank you.
Name and address.
Claire Knight, 1017 14th Avenue. My remark encompasses both reports, safety report and McCleary Park. I'm very happy that the L Street light is going to, the red light is going to be lengthened. Did I understand that correctly?
It's on this, Route 35, so we have to.
Is that at the L Street point?
We have to beg the state to do that, but that's our recommendation.
I like the recommendation because when my grandchildren were little, it was taking your life in your own hands to cross that L Street light. So I'm hoping that happens, and I know you have to go through the state because it's state. I like the plan. I think you worked hard on it. I live in the area. Some people think I'm against everything that they're for. I was accused of throwing them under the bus or something on a local blog, which I don't think I did. But improvement is improvement, and I like it. And I like the fact that you're moving forward, and I like the fact that perhaps the L Street light will be lengthened for the children who cross there and enjoy the park. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, who has this next to Ted?
My name is George Scudera, 1311 River Road. Two comments I want to make is one, I'm wondering why, now that Sandy is history, we haven't spent 5 cents in trying to restore some of the damage to McCleary Park. And I'm referring to the fencing that does no longer close off the open area, the remaining of the boardwalk that has not put down, cleaning up all the brush and dead stuff that blew up in the Rosa Ragusa bushes and leaving hundreds of feet of dead, rotting vegetation. If you spent the money, you would get it back from FEMA. What are we waiting for? That's my first answer. What are we waiting for?
I think we have done a lot of work over there through our DPW. We didn't call in contractors to do it. We try to do it in-house. And I think we've spent many hours with cleanup over there. Maybe not as good as you would want it. And I'm sure there's other areas in town that have the same questions you have. Why wasn't this done? Why wasn't that done? I think we've done as good a job as we can. Does it meet your standards?
No, it does not, because we had an open area that was fenced in, that people and children would be safe playing in, that people could take their pets and let them run around and have a great time and have laughs to fill our park. Now we have a fence on one side, and the other side, the fence is totally open.
It's
not
on the
there.
riverside, correct?
On the riverside, it is not there. And then the boardwalk ends, and you wind up having gravel. I happen to walk in the morning as an exercise. You want to walk on the gravel and step in potholes that are there and break your ankle or twist your ankle? Why isn't maintenance out there fixing it? The other thing is the Boy Scouts got a nice project, got an honor badge or whatever it was, scout badge, Eagle Scout, for putting in a park bench with a white fence and some pavement below it. It's all eroded from Sandy. How come nobody's come there and fixed it? Wait for somebody to break an ankle, twist an ankle, and have a lawsuit? I don't know. But that's my input on what we didn't do that would have been reimbursed, that wouldn't cost Belmar 5 cents and improve the park for senior citizens such as myself. That's my first comment. And when do we expend to spend $5 and put a fence up? Or when are you going to put the fence up? What's the plan?
We could
What
probably
is the
put a
plan?
fence up during the phase 1 or phase 2.
The fencing is planned to be addressed in these improvements.
There you go.
How could it be? Because you were going to change everything in phase 1. You were going to put tennis courts and bocce courts. There wasn't going to be an open space. That's not true.
Sir, just look at this.
I'm looking
right
at
here,
that.
and that's where we are. Let's not go backwards. This is where we are right now. And you're just told that a fence will be put up on probably in front of the Ed Brown playground. That's probably what
No,
you're
from
talking about.
Ed Brown's playground has a fence. It's from there going to the sailing club is missing
On the riverside.
on the riverside.
Okay, very good.
That's my first question. My second observation is, from all these maps that you're showing here, all these graphs of this meeting, 2014, 2013, and whatever, at the last meeting at the coffee shop, I spoke to this woman, and we made eye contact. We made eye contact, and I said,
Sir, you don't have to talk to her right
we
now.
made eye contact, and I said, why does this latest picture not show boat storage, all little tiny boats going from the water right back up to the street? And now it shows a structure. Where are the boats going, and what is the structure? And you know what my answer was? We can't talk about it at this meeting. We're not talking about that phase. Well, now you're standing it and flashing in everybody's face tonight, saying, there's a structure. Someone says, I heard it was going to be 3-story. You said it's not going to be 3. Is it 2? Is it 1? Who's paying for it? And who is getting, how much money do we get from the boat people on the lease for that property? They're getting $500 a year to have the people have their little stand on surfboards. $500 a year. And they're taking land over by the other side of L Street, by the other side of the beach, to put up a wooden structure that would take the place of 10 parking lots at minimum that people could use at the L Street beach when they go to the beach, and not use the parking spaces in the Cleary Park. Change that, move that beastly wooden object, and put some parking lot there and signing and signs saying, for L Street Beach people parking, and for McCleary parking. For $500, you sold us, all our people in town, you sold us for $500, which is renewable every year. How much is the people getting for the sailboat people? What do they pay a year? I'd like to know that. That's a public hearing. How much are they paying for their lease?
I don't think they have to pay lease. They're a quasi Belmar recreation program.
Really?
Yes, sir.
And you know what? It's tied into Green Acres. And the town was supposed to submit to Green Acres a letter and a request, an application to lease that land to the boat people. And I know, in fact, there's letters that were written to our past mayor demanding him to respond to their letters, requesting they submit an application so they could determine how much should be paid on an annual basis to use that land.
We'll look into it. Thank you.
I'm not finished.
Okay?
I have more. I live across the street from what you're now changing, okay? I want to know what this pavilion that's 20 by 50 feet that no one is longer talking about, that doesn't, Plan 1. It was supposed to be next to the toilets, adjacent to the toilets.
You mean you're referring to the shade structure?
The one that you already have, that the town has. That was going to be part of phase 1. Where is that 20 by 50 structure?
It's right here, sir.
No, where is it physically?
Right now, it's in storage.
And we own it.
Yes.
So what are we doing? You're donating it to phase 1, or you're selling it to phase 1 to recoup money that was paid for maybe for some other purpose.
No, it's the borough.
Yeah, that's borough property, and that shade structure belongs to the borough, so
They're gonna donate it to the park?
donate it, we're gonna use it.
The park is ours.
It's our park.
Well, you're gonna use it? Okay, so it's not in the $500,000 improvement plan. But yet, when it says how much the money's being spent, it says pavilion / restrooms and X amount of dollars. So why is that like that?
Could be just for the bathroom trailer.
Yeah, the bathroom trailer is probably fairly expensive, and
No, it
that's
says
something you have to
pavilion
know
/
about.
bathroom trailer. It's in writing. Why is it that way? Why is it written up that way?
So there will be a cost to erect.
Pavilion
shade structure.
/ bathroom trailer.
It's a bathroom trailer / shade structure. There's a cost for constructing it.
Okay. Why is it right next to the toilet? Why are you gonna have people sitting in a pavilion and have a toilet right next to that, watering one side of the pavilion?
Well, this Irishman right now would love to get out of the sun, and if I, you know, if I have to go to the bathroom and then sit in the shade for a while, I'm gonna do it.
But that's not in the best interest of the people. We're supposed to be making a one-of-a-kind park. I don't think that's one of a kind, putting a toilet with the pavilion.
Well, that's your opinion.
And I think I shared many people behind me. Now, the last thing I want to say is, at the last coffee meeting, I'm sorry the mayor is not here, because he made the statement to all of us, the few people who got the last minute notice to come to the meeting. He said, you know, we really learned our lesson about the seafood festival. We made it too big an event, and we really caused major problems. We learned now we're going to have to shave everything down and make it smaller. Well, maybe you should take a look at this project that's in the $7-8 million and say, maybe we ought to learn lessons learned. Make it smaller. Make it what it was when our forefathers came, and I'm saying forefathers, put this up and said, recreation, picnic, open area. It solves all our problems. They did a great job. It's lasted for decades, and I don't see why we want to make something one of a kind. And I look at that master plan that originally came out, and I see a page of my textbook under urban development, course 101, that somebody lifted a picture out and splashed it up on the world. That belongs in New York City or in a new place where you're building a new city. In my opinion, I think a lot of people share with me.
This to you looks like a New York City plan for a park?
No, the one I have here does. The one I have. You want to see the one I have?
No.
The
This
big
is what
one.
we're going with.
The big one, that's all it covers.
We're not gonna go backwards.
Okay, but that's what you planned. And it was called a one-of-a-kind park for what, 5,000 people in Belmar? Who the median age is getting older and older and older? No children? People working the millennium, both mom and dad work, the children don't go to the park, they can't cross the highway. What are we doing? What are we trying to please? Live vicariously or gain some fame? That I was on the council where we did this master plan? It doesn't make any sense.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'd like to, Carolyn asked me if I could get copies of what she spoke, which was gut-wrenching from her heart. To all the people of your council, and also any newspaper people out of
You mean
here.
if Mrs. Woolies?
That's correct. She gave me copies to give to all the people.
Thank you.
Take care of that, please, sir.
I'd like the mayor to get one too. She's cream over in here. I don't think I missed too much.
Okay, we have other people.
I'm glad there are more. There's going to be more and more. I know it. Thank you.
Mark Levis, 904 13th Avenue. I went to every single meeting since 2013.
How'd you find out about
I got emails, I got phone calls, I got flyers. It really wasn't that hard. I mean, I had to take a little bit of time out of my day, put my daughter to bed a little bit earlier.
it? But it's very possible the person next door to you didn't know about it, right? I mean.
I don't know how everyone could know about it. And it's not your responsibility to make sure everybody in town shows up. What I
We
did
would like
see-
to, but you're right, we can't.
What I did see from the meetings was an elaborate plan that got scaled down because a lot of people didn't want that. I think you guys did a fantastic job of trying to appease as many people as you possibly can. you can't make everyone happy. I mean, you can put a tree there and there's gonna be half the room complaining that they want the tree over here. And that's no way to get anything done. And what I see is a little bit bigger parking lot, a tennis court that's being refinished, and a working bathroom. Not that much more. I don't think it's that elaborate of a plan. I think we've done a pretty good job of keeping it simple, so.
That's pretty much
for
what
us
it
to be
is.
sitting here complaining and nitpicking about where the grass is gonna go or where the entrance is gonna be, I have to look at 6 feet of asphalt instead of 3 feet of asphalt. It's absolutely silly. So I like what you've got going here. Don't take too much to heart on what you're hearing from one half of the room or the other, and just try to keep it simple.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kathleen Devine. I live at 1208 Briarwood. I just want to ask a couple questions so that I'm understanding this. The rectangular area that's on the right of the bocce ball court and bathrooms, that's presently the field?
Yeah, it's gonna stay.
And it's going to stay the field?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not going to be totally blacktop?
No,
it's gonna be grass.
Okay, I just want to
Definitely
make
not.
sure, because that's what I was hearing. And the parking is that area that you have the
green.
highlighter?
Correct.
Okay, and the cars are going to be angled
Yep.
Yes.
up to that? All right, well, I just wanted to just comment that I bought my little hovel on Briarwood Road in 2001, and it was a little hovel, it was a fixer-upper. But the reason why I bought it was because of the view. And I'm just going to be broken up, and the view is...
It's not gonna change. You know, tennis courts are staying where they are, fields staying where they are, barbecues staying where they are, rivers staying where it is.
Okay, just one other comment. It just does make sense to me that if, I hope you are working hard on getting the money for the bulkhead, because it does seem also that
You're
maybe you are
right.
putting
We
the
wish,
parking for
we
the
wish the
park.
money for the bulkhead came first. It's logical, but unfortunately, that's not the way it's
And
going.
if work is done, and then, you know, with machinery, you know, then the money is acquired, machinery brought in, it just seems like it's going to have to be redone, and that's just,
Yeah,
you know, that
unfortunately.
costs more money, and it's just doesn't make sense. So I just think the bulkhead should be the top priority.
I agree.
Thank you.
I should say, I agree. Well, I think we agree, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Hi, my name is Gene Murray. I live at 710 8th Avenue. I don't come to many meetings because years ago, Mayor Haig told my father, politics. Mayor Haig.
This is gonna be good.
He told my father, politics is getting even. And I believe that. I really believe it, because I can see it at these meetings. What a great job you people try to do. Or Mike with cleaning up the park. People are gonna complain if you got that thing for nothing. Matt Doherty won 2 elections, and now it's payback. That's what it seems to me. If we all could just get together and sit down and have a nice park, and go down there and have a soda and a hamburger, and make everything look good. You guys are doing a great job. Stick with your guns. The mayor's doing a job, Colleen, and I'm really, really proud of you guys. So just stick with it, and it'll fall into place.
Thank you. Teresa? Teresa?
Hello, Teresa Pringle, 1002 13th Avenue. I have to say I am a big advocate for bulkhead before beauty. I don't really know anyone who asked for a new park versus taking care of what we have. I do appreciate your efforts in trying to design a new park.
We asked for it all together. We asked for the bulkhead and the improvement of the park, but it came back, they said no to our bulkhead and yes to the park. Am I correct there, Kyle? That way we applied for everything.
We have applied multiple times for everything.
And they were the ones that told us, park beauty first, bulkhead last. So
Okay, thank you.
that wasn't our decision.
Alrighty, regarding the park, as far back as 2011, I gave a list to a certain council person with a whole bunch of items for maintenance in the park. Some of them being sinkholes by the bulkhead, mulch, filling in the cracks in the tennis courts. And some were taken care of, most were not. As recently as July 28th, I asked for the remaining picnic table near the sailing club that wasn't washed away by the hurricane, for the bricks to be fixed, and so did another person who attended the turnstile meeting. Still has not been fixed. We need to be on a regular maintenance schedule. This summer there was a tennis clinic for a week, and the weeds were knee-high in the tennis courts. That should never happen. We can clean that out and seal the courts for now until we can get new courts, which, by the way, I've heard you can apply to the Tennis Association, the U.S. Tennis Association, for grants to rehabilitate tennis courts. I had to inform the borough that only one porta-john at the park would not service the whole park for the summer until we finally got 2 porta-johns for the whole summer. The park receives entirely too little attention. It's insulting and degrading. To date, no one on the council or DPW that I know of has come down to the neighborhood, grabbed any of the neighbors who would be more than willing to walk around McCleary Park and make a punch list of the items that can be fixed in-house. Very reasonable cost. I don't know what the problem is. It's a beautiful, important part of Belmar. It deserves as much attention as Ocean Avenue, Main Street, all the other parts of town. And as far as the bathroom, there are how many bathroom trailers on Ocean Avenue? 20? One for every avenue, approximately? 6? Why couldn't we spare one of those for the park for this summer?
Because it comes out of the beach utility. We cannot use money from the beach utility for McCleary Park.
Why couldn't we have rented one from a company or a service? I mean, really.
And pay for it out of the municipal tax rate.
Figure it out. 3 porta-johns for hundreds of people who filter through the park every day for 3 months. When now the mayor's law, 6 porta-johns for 2 nights.
I understand that, and that's partially why we're eager to get to construction.
Right. We want to get moving on this. Now that we want to get working in the fall. And believe me, we're trying to meet you, and the DPW will try and maintain that the best they can. Again, as I said before, may not meet your standards, but we're trying our best. Now, you could say, one more time, I could say Silver Lake is 20 acres of property of parkland, and there's no porta-johns. Why not? Why isn't there a porta-john at Silver Lake? 20 acres. So, because I wouldn't, as a neighbor, I wouldn't want a porta-john. I wouldn't want people coming there using a porta-john in front of my house.
Park, and it's always had a bathroom.
What has always had a bathroom?
McCleary Park.
Yeah, it's always had a bathroom, and we did our best. Again, we're doing our best. It will get better when we get the work in here with the bathrooms, guaranteed.
Okay. I would also like to comment on the fact that we were supposed to be included in a meeting at the turnstile cafe. We were told that we would have a meeting with Green Acres, the council, and an engineer for our input. And instead, we came here tonight to find out some changes were made, and none of us were notified. And when I did email Colleen, she was on vacation. No one else on the council knew the answer to my question. No one else could tell me when that meeting was, or that there's not going to be a meeting. Why is Colleen the only one who can ever answer a question?
Why? Well, she's a full-time employee where we are part-time council members. She knows more about the goings-on day to day and contacting the state, the county, working with the DPW than I do. So a lot of times if I want to answer someone's question, I've got to go to Colleen to get the correct answer. All right? So if you were to call me and ask me, I might remember something, but I wouldn't have the up-to-date information. So that's why we don't go to that. That's why we pay her to work full-time.
Well,
You don't like that answer?
I don't, because I copied all of the council members on my email.
I know, and I answered you, I told you, I go on my email 2-3 times a week. You probably go on it daily.
Yes, of course I do.
I don't, is that wrong?
Well, I think as someone who's supposed to be working for and with the town, I think that's
I
kind
don't
of,
think so. I don't, when I ran it, didn't say that, Brian McGovern, you gotta go check your email every day, because now you're a council member.
I don't know how you keep it in touch then.
I go to Colleen, I come into her office.
There can't only be one person. There can't only be one person. We're
We got
supposed to be able to reach
administrator,
out
we got a
to all of
DPW,
you.
we got a police chief, we got members of the DPW out on the town. We got many people. Thank you.
I wish I could say thank you.
Gene, we're limiting to just one, we haven't even gotten to the next item on here. Just, you've already come up to the microphone, that's what's going to be for today.
Gene Kramer, Fourth Avenue. Actually, I'm responding to the public notice that was in the newspaper. This is, quite truthfully, new to me. Not that familiar with McCleary Park, but just my own experience in town. I always liked the original design. I think some good work was done, especially with the State Department of Transportation, trying to build a park space next to a major linear development. And what I mean by that, a state highway. I did check Monmouth County's maps and also New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, what they call GeoWeb, their GIS system. McCleary Park is approximately 10 acres in area. The borough owns approximately 6.5 acres. I think it interesting that you're all talking, every commenter that came up here tonight spoke about the bulkhead. According to Monmouth County records and DEP's records mapping, the borough does not own the bulkhead. I think it's somewhat of a disservice when you do put a drawing like this up for the public to review. There's no indication of where the borough's property begins and where it ends. You can't do that with the planning board, you can't do that with the zoning board. You go to the planning board, you have to know distance from property lines, where your neighbors are, and so on. There's no indication of that here. Like I said, approximately 6.5 acres is what the borough owns. The park is about 10 acres. But what we're really talking about here is 3 acres, the most important 3 acres, the borough does not have title to. Okay? And that's where the bulkhead is. And quite truthfully, a good percentage of the proposed improvements are on property that the borough does not own. Now, what I think is important here, and I don't want to sound like lecturing, but the last time, I guess there was a big grant application was worked on by the borough, and very successfully. The people that lived in the area down at the south end of town were asked to communicate to elected officials and anybody, quite truthfully, who could influence perhaps the award of the grant for Lake Como. And here we have a park where, number one, we're not the property owner, where the most important part of the park is located, and that's the bulkhead. It doesn't appear that there was no attempt made to ask the residents themselves to communicate directly with the state or with the county for that matter. Like I said, I'm a resident of this town, and the only thing I heard about this was what I read in the little 2-inch public notice in the newspaper. I think the town was successful with the Lake Como grant, and I think a lot of that had to do with the participation of the residents themselves, writing letters to the governor, whoever it was. Here we have involved freeholders, and we also have involved the state of New Jersey. I'm not going to say it was a disservice to the people of the Rhode Island Point area, but why weren't they involved or asked to participate in this? Just from what I saw tonight, just a more substantive comment on this. Like I said, I like the original park design with the parking the way that it is along the highway. Everybody's going to say there's not enough parking. But I do see that the Belmar Police Department, quite often when I'm traveling the highway, does have patrol cars that stop there. And even at night, I've seen them with, because they have a spotlight on the cruisers, that they can actually check the property out towards the water without having to get out of their vehicle. I think one of the things that may be a concern here that I'm concerned about, especially if I lived over in that area, would be one of what they call an attractive nuisance. You're going to have, with a restroom located somewhat interior to the property and away from the parking area, does this mean that we're going to have some sort of 24-hour surveillance in that area, and either foot patrol or video, what have you. The other thing is of course extension of utilities. I don't think there's any sewer out there. I don't think there's any electric out there, and of course those would cost money to install.
Thank you, Gene.
Let me just go back on the parking lot.
Okay.
I guess from a environmental standpoint, whenever you build a parking lot, parking lots are notorious for being sources of what they call non-point source pollution. And moving this parking lot closer to the L Street Beach, we already have water quality problems down there. Now, I don't know how the drainage would be directed here, or whether this would be a pervious type of paving type of thing.
Impervious.
Excuse me?
We're looking at impervious. As much as possible, we're looking at impervious.
Pervious.
Impervious. Pervious, I'm sorry. Pervious, absolutely.
Yeah, the problem that you have with that sort of thing is, like I said, we already have problems with water quality at the L Street. I hate to see, improvements go in that actually, exacerbate that problem. You have such things as crankcase oil drippings from cars, and of course the stuff that people drop or throw out of their cars. And I think some logic went into the original parking lot that's there, that the entrances and exits are somewhat distant from the L Street Beach. If there's some solutions that could come up to protect water quality over there, I think that would be worthwhile looking into. Otherwise, I just see it a lot of water draining. And eventually, if you look at the area, where's the water going to go? The only place that it's going to have to go is going to go out the Elm Street Beach.
Thank you, Gene. Lady in the green, sir, you're already up to the microphone. We're going once for this discussion.
Alicia McClary, I live at 1205 Briarwood Road. I have a question. I sent an email and I got a response today around 12 o'clock. I wanted to get information about tonight's meeting so I would be prepared. I wanted to be able to go over everything and be able to speak logically. And I was sent this packet, which most of which is up there, but there are several screens and parts of information that are up there that aren't in here.
It's all online. We were working on it really all afternoon.
Okay, well, the reason I asked this question was because talking about having transparency and being able to come to these meetings and be able to contribute, nothing in the email said that this was only part of the information.
Okay, I've returned from vacation today. I was trying to give people information before the meeting, and there were some updates that happened in the last few hours. It's all online now, and you can certainly get it. It's right there on our website.
Okay, what I did was I shared this with many of my neighbors because other neighbors that sent emails got an email back, but they didn't receive this.
Okay.
So that was a concern.
Well, if you like, I can email you this updated version so you don't have to go to the website.
Oh, I have no problem going to the website. I was just asking, since I looked at this afternoon and I wanted to make sure I understood everything that was in here, when I saw the slides go up and it was different, I was curious as to, well, I wasn't like this, I don't have this. This right here, I don't have that at all. I didn't have anything about the $800,000. I didn't have anything about the $500,000. So I had a lot of questions I was planning to ask, some of which got answered because of your slides, but we didn't have the luxury of knowing that information before we came here.
And I probably erred on the side of sharing information as soon as I could.
That's fair enough. And I want to share with the gentleman's comment before that, since we do get the blue codes phone calls for all the little things in town, how hard can it be to just make these meetings be something that is on that type of notification as well? I mean, you call us for everything under the sun, on our cell phones, our house phones. I get at least 5 calls a month. It's really not such a big deal for you to commit to do that too and make everybody happy.
Thank you.
Linda Chilson, 1602 L Street. I came prepared to talk about a number of things based on previous information. What's been presented, what was shared today, as you heard, around noon this afternoon. Unfortunately, due to work commitments, I couldn't go through it. However, I am impressed with the changes because I know they reflect some of the things, some of the concerns. I just wanted to make a couple of comments. First of all, we talked about park use now. We know every weekend there are literally hundreds of people between the beach, the children and their families on the playing fields, the families, enormous number of families using the picnic areas, and 2, maybe 3 active porta potties. There's no excuse for this unsanitary, disgusting condition. There's no excuse for not finding money to make that an immediate correction. This fall, we go into fall practices for sports. People are still doing paddleboard on the beach. There are still people flying kites up on the open grassy area. No excuses. This isn't part of any project, any financial monies that are being allotted. This is a sanitary health condition that you know about.
Thank you.
the revised parking scheme, is there only an allotment of physical space for single parking in that area that goes the whole length? Or is it possible to double that and make 2 rows of parking in that space?
I don't think we have the physical space to do that. Well, I'll have an engineer look at it, but just eyeballing it, it looks like it's too narrow to get 2 diagonal. Colleen, do you have any?
Because it was my hope that we could get a double lane of parking cars and then there's not room.
Okay, well, you know, the obvious concern is, well, we seem to have adequate parking. There's no question that the marina parking is beyond capacity, and we have another major corporate business going in there. God knows where they're going to park. I understand from people who actually were at the one of the turnstile meetings that when it was posed, you know, what are we going to do about parking? The response was, well, we'll have people park on the grass. We know we don't have parking for what's there now.
You mean the field?
The grass, quote unquote.
I think, ma'am,
That's not gonna happen.
no, that was.
Well, I certainly hope it wouldn't happen. However, no, wasn't talking about a material to be used as a parking material. But the fact is, we are overdeveloped. We are going to be more overdeveloped when Chefs International builds. We don't have parking for it. I have no idea what you're thinking. To expand when there is no room, to develop a program, a plan that is going to create havoc. We know what happens when we decide to become grandiose. Didn't we learn from the Seafood Festival? Thank you.
Okay, make a motion to close this?
Yeah.
Okay, I make a motion to close this discussion on the Cleary Park. Second.
Councilman Blackford? Yes. Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman Governor?
Yes. Due to the length of that discussion, I'd like to make a motion to maybe table the discussion on the pay to play.
Pay to play.
Councilman Blackford?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan? Councilman Governor?
Yes. Okay, that moves us to, yeah. Can we do that, Mike? Okay, that was a long 2.5 hours. Make a motion that we take a, what do you think? 5-minute break. Second. All right.
No, I'd like to say no. I'd like
Good luck. Yeah, upside down.
And my family's so we have that as I'm like, balance, pull back a little bit, just, and my two of my brothers wrestled in the States in the Super Bowl region. One of them was Super Bowl and actually wrestled in Princeton. Yeah. They are, let's see, my brothers are 59, 55, Tom and Bob, I have our message Catholic. John Patrick, my brother John.
That changed the whole
And my brother is very serious.
Take care, Gene. Good point there. I didn't know that.
Yes, and that's no, you don't
I knew, I care about their blood. Get down on the ground. This is how big the rest is. They don't go on the ground. They just do this. They don't even get on the ground. So this is but they were fresh. And I couldn't. Yeah. It's really and his son, Vincent, didn't know he was going to Sept. No. Yeah, just Sept. And he went to medical school 5 days like this. Oh, you're so sick. When I was sick, every day you should go out there. Vincent is dead. And their brother is raped in blood. Their cousin died.
Right up against them, being there trying to get. That's what it's going to have to be here.
Thank you for staying, everybody. But I need to go to the bathroom. Okay, workshop discussion is over. Petitions. Does anybody out there have a petition for the council? Seeing none, we'll go to approval of the minutes. Janice?
I move that the minutes of the meeting held on August the 18th, 2015 be approved as recorded, and that a copy thereof be posted on the borough's website.
Second.
Councilman Kilgore?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman McGovern?
Yes. Okay, reports of council. Janice, you want to go first?
First, I'd like to thank the Bicycle Pedestrian Committee and especially Kate for a great job that they did putting together the program that they did and for presenting it this evening. This morning, the Belmar Recreation and the Mayor's Wellness Campaign Group got together with all of the people that had been walking all summer. The two groups sponsored a senior walking group, and today we got together, they got their prize, which was lunch. The lunch was provided by Sweet Teas right across the street. We had approximately 50 people join, all seniors ages 50 to about 85, and they walked 4,505,499 steps this summer, so they did a great job. So they deserved lunch. Next senior luncheon is 9/9, September the 9th. Rite Aid will be there to provide flu shots. Be sure to bring your insurance card, or Rite Aid will be asking for money. The lunch will be provided by Jimmy's Place down on Ocean Avenue, and that's at 11 o'clock in the gym. Just a reminder that the ADA committee, along with the first aid squad, does have mobility devices. We're not taking any more devices in right now. We are covered up with them. But if you or anyone you know needs to borrow a wheelchair, a walker, a cane, or those other things. Crutches, thank you. We do have them available for loan to anyone who needs them. Just give Borough Hall a call and they'll get in contact with us. We will contact you. Upcoming trips, there are quite a few, so just look on the Borough website. And townwide yard sale is November 26th and 7th. September, I'm sorry, what did I say?
November.
September, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Councilman Brennan?
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't really have anything much. I was in New Orleans last week. I was actually there on August 29th, which was the 10th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. I wanted to let everybody know that Belmar resident Krista Sperber was there representing, I can't remember it. New Jersey Progress Now. It's one of the groups that's working to encourage finishing aid to people who are still displaced from Sandy. I know she had a full schedule of events. We weren't able to meet up with her, but she did take a tour of the Ninth Ward. A lot of people have heard of that. And one of the things about New Orleans that I can tell everybody that's really quite moving is the fact that although there's been a lot of rebuilding, a lot of the media coverage over the past few weeks leading up to the anniversary was about how New Orleans came back and how everything's so much better there. Yes, some residents, that's really not the case. In lots of neighborhoods, you'll find many of the homes rebuilt right next to a house that had nothing done to it, and it's just covered with what looks like the jungle, because it is a tropical climate. And the Ninth Ward in particular is blocks and blocks and blocks of empty lots where homes used to stand. People, for one reason or another, did not have the ways or the means to come back and rebuild. And that's one thing that I keep in mind when we look at Belmar and New Jersey. After Sandy, I wouldn't want to see that kind of thing happen here. So I definitely keep that in mind anytime anything comes up. You know, we want to make sure we finish what we start here, unlike New Orleans. That's my report.
Very good. My report, first thing I want to mention, and it's too bad so many people left, because I want to announce that the Belmar Historical Society is having a fundraiser, and it's going to be a 1920s Bootleggers Masquerade Ball. It's on November 7th at the Waterview from 7 p.m. until 11 p.m. Advanced sale price will be $65, and that will be until September 30th for tickets. You can get tickets at the Belmar Public Library for Nostalgic Nonsense Vintage Clothing, 9th Avenue and Main Street. Or you can call the Belmar Historical Society at 908-309-3380. That $65 will include a buffet dinner, 2 drinks, dancing with the jazz band. There will be gift raffles and prizes for the best costume. Again, that's a fundraiser for the Belmar Historical Society. I have the beach report. Obviously, with such good weather this summer, we're doing really, really well. The best summer we ever had was 2010, where we brought in $3.2 million for the beach. As of this past weekend, the summer of 2015, and this is still with a week to go, we have brought in $3,598,323. So this is the biggest summer we have ever had. And so by the time Labor Day ends this Monday, that figure will grow even more. Councilwoman Nicolay is not here tonight, and she normally does the DPW report, and I just want to cover that for her because DPW has been working hard. They're beginning to close out the summer, and they're already getting ready to winterize our town and the beaches. They've cleaned and jetted all the storm drains last week. They have just finished the brush pickup, but they'll do it again next week. So if you have brush, if you're cleaning out your garden or anything, put the brush out next Monday. You're going to say, yes, it's Labor Day. We have a small skeleton crew on. If they don't get it to on Monday, they'll pick it up Tuesday. So get your brush out for next week. They just finished taking the reeds out of Silver Lake, and you can actually see that there's water in Silver Lake. Those phragmites were so tall. They did a real good job. They got it done, it looked like in a day and a half, maybe 2 days. But that's, the neighbors all around Silver Lake are very thankful for getting rid of those reeds. They have been working on the hardware for the swing sets on the beaches, because they wear out with the sand and the salt water and everything like that. So they were replaced last week. There were 6 water breaks in town. Better it happens during the summer than in dead of winter, though. So those guys are happy about that. And they're starting to replace some lights on the boardwalk. Actually, replace the lights with the bulbs.
It's the light casings, actually. The manufacturer has replaced enough light casings for the entire boardwalk, so we will be putting those up gradually in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, so they're actually replacing the lights.
The actual structure.
And so they're also replacing some of the light bulbs that obviously they burn out.
Yes.
Plus their regular duties. So that's the Councilwoman Nicolay's DPW report. Make a motion to close our reports? Don't need to. Okay, we move on to the consent agenda, right?
Public session.
Public session. Public session is on resolutions, only on the agenda. We will continue to have a public session at the end of the meeting. Ted?
All right, would like to urge the three of you, the council, not to vote to go to application on phase 2. First, the plans that were seen tonight have only been seen by the people in this room. They are a major, major change and occurred within, say, the last 48 hours. So it's really hard to have hearing on plans that have only been drawn up by Mazer and presented at a meeting with 24 hours notice. And I think legally there should be 10 days to review these plans. That's one reason. Reason number 2, when the first meeting at Turnstile, which was the 14th of March 2013, there was a flyer sent out that said, come to a meeting on McCleary Park at Turnstile. It's about McCleary Park, bring your ideas. So Bill and I spent 2 weeks and we came up with ideas. Besides the dive steps, I was out there, Bill and I were out there when he could walk halfway decently. And we did a lot of measuring, and we measured the whole existing area for parking that exists now. And I could foresee need for parking in the future. So I measured the area in front. It's dead space. You can't plant grass there. You can't plant anything there in front of the tennis courts and down by the entrance to the new playground. It's dead, but you can fit 20 cars in it. 20 more cars. That plus the existing space, not even going to L Street, just stopping at the playground, down to the end, adding 20 spaces in that dead space. No trees, no grass, nothing will grow there. That's 67 spaces. The proposed parking lot that was originally phase 2 was only 65 parking spots. So I would like that looked at and re-looked at again before plans are drawn up, because there's 20 spots. With the trees around and the bushes on 35, nobody would see those additional spots from their residences on 35. Third reason why I'd like to ask you to wait, because there's still time. Third reason is, I believe if I were an elected official, I would want confirmation from, as an official, from the open space, Loudoun County open space, that indeed we're okay with them, because now we've gone with 2 major changes. The application went to them on, as I said, it was accepted by them on September 17th. And now we just made changes today in September, and we made changes back in June. And we missed a deadline already. Today was the deadline for the permits. And they are sticklers. It says on there, if you miss any of these things, you may not get all or some of the grant. And it's stated, you have to do this, you have to do this, do that. So I would want to be reassured as an elected official that I have that. Fourth, Gene just told me yesterday that the state owns the land, the bulkhead. I think that should be looked at immediately. I find it hard to believe that we were out looking for funding from the state for a bulkhead when it's their land. Thank you.
Brian?
David Schnack, 302 C Street. I know the hour is very late. I'll try to get through this very quick. And also, I'm probably running out of space in my video camera, so try to end it pretty soon. First, one thing I wanted to mention is you mentioned the Waterview Pavilion, and we didn't have the traditional Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence, but Paul Rapetti died recently. It wasn't mentioned. He was co-owner of the Waterview Pavilion and the Pat's Diner when it was there and such, and I just wanted to acknowledge that. I have a couple of questions about the payment of bills. list?
This is,
It's on the resolution,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm concentrating on the,
Okay, I'll try to go through these real fast. There's a payment of $4,200, $41.90 to Spark Marketing Solutions, one full-page guidebook ad. What guidebook was that in?
I believe that is I believe off the top of my head, David, that's the water weight guide, where we advertise the marina. Spark places the ad for us and we reimburse, I believe.
It was like a boating guide or something?
Yeah,
where
off the top of
marina?
my head, I can get you a
Okay.
confirmed answer.
All right, okay, thank you. There's a wire transfer for $43,000 to Kearney Federal Savings to a depository trust company, $43,000. This is it says it's a bond interest payment. Is this for just, what time period, how much long that time period does this cover? Is this for like a quarter or a month? Or
I can pull that and email it to you.
would you do that, please?
Sure.
There's these other wire transfers that it's listed here as for an expenditure of 1989 Green Trust loan payment, 1987 Green Trust, 1992 Green Trust loan payment. Then there's another one, another batch that's a current year Green Trust loan. I'm sorry, can you explain this? These are payments from a 1989 or 87 loan or something that we're still making?
Again, I could pull them and
Yeah.
give you more
there's
detail.
probably a
It's
30-year bond or so that we,
It could be all bonds that Robin was
yeah,
moving
Robin.
some money or paying some things off.
So Robin Kirk would probably be able to identify those.
Okay, because like these old ones from the 1980s and 90s are paid out of the current fund, but then these ones for the current year appropriations are paid from water sewer. Is that?
I'm sure they're all different bonds and
Yeah.
notes, but I can give
There
you
might
some
be bonds.
information.
It gets so complicated. Robin is an expert in explaining this.
Here to answer your questions.
Yeah, or an accountant, it does municipal accounting, so.
Oh,
If you have questions about the wires, I can get you some more detail tomorrow, David.
okay, just, I guess you probably don't know the answer to this either, then, there's our yearly assessment for the Central Joint Insurance Fund is $656,000. We made a payment of $328,000, again, another wire transfer. And
Our insurance.
right, yeah, and I see the wire transfer was split up between, it was $70,000 from the water utility, $130,000 from the beach utility, and then $128,000 from the current fund. Is that the percentages that each one owed, or is that just we're borrowing money from like the water utility?
No, we're not
Okay.
borrowing money.
So, okay, so this is like broken down into the
The
percentage that each one would owe towards that.
Yeah.
Central.
You're right.
That's it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you know what, our auditors would pick up on that every time they audit, or twice a year do we get audited? Yeah, they would pick up on that real quick if we were robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah, I like to do
Just
my
can't do
own
it.
impromptu audits as well.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Mike?
Mike Sept, 110 Second Avenue again. Just one quick question. Would there be any, Council President Governor, Council, good evening again. Would there be any harm in waiting on tabling the vote on phase 2 to get more information out to people? Is there any consequences that?
Yeah, I think if we're late in voting for it, then we might just lose so much time to get this work done. If we vote for it tonight, and the county comes up, or the state comes up with problems with it, they'll let us know, but at least we can get this moving forward. They'll get back to us if they're not happy with our design.
Yeah, that I'm sure, but I guess what I'm more interested in is the concerns the residents have that were expressed, and making sure that everybody's noticed and the information is out there.
Sure, they had a lot of concerns, and what I was hearing, a lot, were concerned about the changes, with some wanted more parking, less parking, parking here, parking there. Some of them were concentrated on plans that were no longer relevant. So I think we saw the plans today. I would like to move forward and get this vote done, and then have the official, the county, right? It would be get back to us.
And if I could clarify, this vote allows us to apply for the grant informed by the feedback we got tonight.
Yeah. So, you know, we can't apply for it until we get the vote in. So I think it's time sensitive to get the vote in.
One of the other things I'm hoping for is, look, we want the state and county to pay for the bulkhead. That's really what it comes down to. We want them to pay, but what we have to do is we have to establish with them that we're interested in doing all this other work. We keep asking them for more grants and doing more work. We look like we're serious about taking care of it. The idea being that we establish a track record with them and make it harder for them to tell us no about the bulkhead than easier.
Right, but
We all understand the bulkhead is the thing that really concerns us the most.
in making some of the changes you've made and garnering the support of your residents, you become a far more formidable force to present them and to lobby them. As several of the residents mentioned and Gene pointed out, maybe we should turn our weight against the county and the state in their responsibility on their property.
Well, I'm sure that the state of New Jersey knows that they own that
Yeah,
bulkhead.
but the state of New Jersey might not care one way or the other. They also.
Well, then they would probably turn down
There's a lot of issues that, Brian, if they're not brought to the fore and they're not leaned on hard enough, they're not gonna get any response.
Part of it is, if they've already given us money to do these other improvements, how do they justify not giving us the money to fix the bulkhead? That's my point. That's what we're trying to do. And respectfully, I mean, I think most of the feedback we've gotten has been, fix the bulkhead first, which I think is clear. We can't really do that. And it doesn't make sense to me not to put a bathroom in just because we can't fix the bulkhead. People are concerned about the parking. You try to take care of that. People did not want the tennis courts moved. We put them back. I mean, look, that whole original plan was the way I understand it, because I came in late, was we asked someone to try to design something over there with like a blank canvas, no knowledge of what really had been there before, looking at it as something that was brand new, that we could take that, the council could take that to the residents and say, what do you think of this? And that's what every one of these meetings has been. And as soon as I got on board, and I gotta be clear, one of the first things I talked to Colleen Connolly about was, what's the plan with McCleary Park? Because I had seen a big article in the Coast-Star with that original diagram, and I particularly was really interested in the band shell thing, naturally, being a musician, I was like, what a great idea. The residents didn't like that, so it's gone. It's gone. Every change that's been made has been made in response to resident input.
Okay,
And I think now we have a plan that we can say, look,
That's what happened. I guess my hope is that the process changes to where the people you go out to for the design ideas are right here in this room. Rather than going to an architect, and because you yourself, when we did the whole pavilion thing, had no interest in second floor units and rooftop golf. I mean, you said so, and you were very forthright and honest, and your opinion was very valuable, because that's what the weight of the people did not want. And it took a long.
Well, I don't understand. You're telling me you don't think people want us to fix the parking lot?
No, what I'm saying is.
We can handle this in the public session, you know.
Yeah, I want to let everybody go, because it's been a late night, but I'd appreciate it if in the future, there's plans to change things, maybe call a meeting of the residents of your community and seek their input, and then take those ideas and go to the design department. I really believe that would expedite the whole process. The only reason why any one of your residents is asking to hold off on a vote is because they want you guys to do it right. And now, you know, what I learned about from Gene Kramer, I didn't look up the property lines on the map, but I'm thinking the bulkhead and stuff like that.
The state knows.
Right, but maybe if the state hears from 3,000 or 4,000 people, Brian, it might become a little more topical. Thank you again, have a great night.
Thank you, Mike. Sir?
I've been up there before, and in George there, 1311 River Road. Am I to understand that the band shell and the event lawn is no longer part of the master plan of McCleary Park?
That is correct.
When did that take place?
After the first meeting, residents. That's my understanding.
Yeah, the residents in that area that came to Turnstiles didn't like that idea, so it was pulled.
And I'd like to go back to the earlier question, which maybe I'm going senile, but I asked 2 questions. Can somebody find out what is being proposed as the building for the sailing club, which I didn't get an answer for?
I don't think anything's being proposed.
Nothing at this point.
Well, it's on the map.
What's on the map is the space that's occupied by their building right now.
One picture shows boats as boat storage. The other one says building in plain English written word, building.
Well, I'm going by what we looked at tonight.
It's on the ones that were sent out today. It's in the video that you showed today. It says building, not boat storage. And the boat storage doesn't show up. Can someone help
Colleen,
me
can
answer this
we, you
question?
can call,
Colleen?
who's the head of the,
We deal with word children.
right, so just give him a call tomorrow, find out what his plans are, tell him that he's not building a building, and then get back to this gentleman right here.
Then take it off your map, the building that says building, and put the little boat pictures back.
Sure.
So you can make the residents of this town and the people being affected by this at ease.
I see your point.
Okay? And the
Absolutely.
second point is, I asked a question, I believe that the town
Sir?
I believe that the land that the boat people use is being leased from Belmar. Is that the true statement or false?
I know.
You mean the little the sailboats that the FOBH program?
That they're using on the Green Acres. The Green Acre piece that they
It's
have
not being
in boat
leased.
storage and
Maybe the
encroachment.
stand-up paddlers has
They have a lease for that.
the stand-up paddlers, but not the sailing program.
Sailing program's a non-profit, so we can't charge them. But it's my understanding, we can't charge them because they're a non-profit.
Yeah, so.
But it's making a ton of money, quote unquote.
They might be charging money.
I'm hearing today, they're making a ton of money.
The
It's heard
sailing
today.
program?
I heard it here today.
That sounds like it's hearsay.
I
It's
can't.
It's
not money.
hearsay today.
It's expensive to keep those boats because those young sailors don't always sail in the water. Sometimes they bump into the dock. They bump into they get capsized. Boats get damaged. So they have a lot of probably repair bills. I don't think they're making a ton of money, which.
If they're classified as a
The
non-profit.
mayor said it was very, 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 very profitable. That's his term.
You know what, I don't know as profitable, they're a very, very, they're a good asset to the community. They provide scholarships to kids who could go. We take advantage of the fact that we're on the river and we can teach kids to sail. If they're making money and they're classified as a nonprofit, as soon as they get audited, they're gonna lose their nonprofit status and the whole thing changes. But I don't see them doing that because they've been in existence, I'd have to say, for at least 15 years since my kids were going to it. And,
I'm familiar with nonprofit organizations.
Okay.
I'm familiar with a guy who plays the guitar and goes around nonprofit to schools and gives himself $600 an hour.
All right, let's wait for the public portion to discuss something.
Looking at a thing here that they wanted me to bring attention. It says, future phase of the project for which the borough is not currently seeking funding will include 2 playgrounds, one for ages 2 to 5 and the others 5 to 12, a seasonal band stage, and an event lawn, a passive recreation field, perimeter boardwalk. So he's saying these are no longer.
Yeah, that's outdated.
This is outdated.
No, but you said they were taken out after the first meeting in Turnstile.
Oh, okay.
This is the application that went out.
It's not currently.
The 2 playgrounds are, if you go over to the
the
playground,
band shell.
there's two
The band shell.
pieces of playground equipment. So, but there is no band shell.
That's just not-
It's gone.
They're gray.
It's gone. Okay.
And no one was told about it.
You're told now, it's gone.
That's another example of not
I'm
letting
sorry,
the
I
people
apologize that you
of
didn't
Rhode
know.
Island Point who is so affected, not getting communication. Shame on you all.
have to disagree. At that meeting, you and I spoke here at the meeting in Turnstile, it was not in the plan then.
It wasn't mentioned.
It
It wasn't brought up, because you were talking
It
about
wasn't on
phase one.
the diagram that was in
Phase
front of the room,
one.
wasn't there?
Tom, he's never gonna stop.
I'm ashamed of what I heard, I'm very disappointed as the way this whole thing is being handled, and the manner in which you people are conducting it. I'm really ashamed.
Thank you. Question
Quick question.
on the agendas, right? Yeah.
Mary Hall, 1217 Maplewood Road, Belmar. Just to clarify, because when I was speaking about the applications for the grants and/or loans for the bulkhead repair, I didn't know it wasn't owned by Belmar. Did Belmar make that application knowing that it was owned by the parties that, who actually created this, who did the grant work program? Who filled out the paperwork to apply for a grant to repair the bulkhead? Who did that? Did we subcontract it to somebody, or did Belmar do that?
No, or probably our administrator through.
With our engineer.
Okay,
With
so
the
maybe
engineers.
Colleen did it. At that time, did Belmar know that we didn't own the bulkhead?
I'm sure.
Okay, so, but I was never told that, it was never mentioned. Well, please don't make faces at me.
No, but
I have a
we
valid
can't tell you
question.
everything that Colleen
excuse
learns
me.
from the engineers. We can't tell you everything because we
That is
don't
a
know
pretty
what you're
basic
gonna ask.
question, whether we own that bulkhead that we're discussing, whether we got grant money or loan money. And when we were refused, it was the verbiage, because you don't own the bulkhead? What was the reason why we were turned down when we were granted other money for a playground or these other things?
Remember?
Why?
I believe it was limitation of funds.
Okay?
Okay, limitation of funds, so that was it. So Belmar has every right to apply to repair something that they don't own.
We've been told to apply by the state.
By-
By the state. And then if the funds are there, and they'll repair it, they'll know they're repairing their bulkhead.
See, now that wasn't that difficult. You didn't have to make a face at me. I have a valid
I
question.
make faces, I'm
I
sorry.
know, well, that's rude.
Well, I think you made a face at me too.
Afterwards,
Oh.
like you're 7 years old, don't make a face at me. I'm asking you a valid question.
Okay. Mike?
A couple points need to be brought up. Whether the gentleman here, Gene Kramer, said we did not own the property, didn't say we didn't own the bulkhead. We still may own the bulkhead and be responsible for the maintenance of the bulkhead if we do not.
Well, it's still part of Belmar.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes. It's like your own.
You're right,
sidewalks.
private property.
Right.
It's in Belmar,
Right. So
but
it
you
is
own the
right.
property.
As far as making the application going and moving forward, we should move forward. It's better to make the application by the deadline expected than to ask and then make an amendment to that application at a future point. Than it is to miss the deadline and then try to get permission to resubmit it. Okay? I worked for nearly 4 decades accepting applications from around the state for money and different various agencies in the state. Once you had an application in, just like once you have your taxes in by the proper date, you can always make an amendment. But you have to have the initial application in first. So I encourage you to vote on it today to get the application in on time.
Thank you. Bill?
Bill Strauss, 1218 Fine, I trust you. There's other people I might not, but did you know that we didn't own that property?
Yes.
You did.
I know it's a Belmar property, but it's state-owned, just like the highway to the side. It's owned, that highway is owned by the state of New Jersey. But it is in Belmar, it's part of Belmar.
But you knew we didn't own it.
I knew it was,
part of our
yeah,
property.
I knew it was their responsibility. They built it to begin with. Belmar never built that whole
Did
thing.
anybody else know? Because.
I'm sure our engineers knew.
Right, but what I'm saying is, we were not, Gene Creamer said that the first time I heard of it was that right there.
I was
Did
surprised
Colleen
at the
know
number
that
of
they didn't
acres.
know?
Yeah.
Colleen, did you know?
Yes.
The mayor never said it at Turnstiles, Colleen never said it to the residents, nobody's ever said it to the residents that that wasn't ours. Now, if it was told to us that that's not our property, maybe we would have asked about going into a different direction, or maybe we would have asked you to explain about the grant process and why somebody's telling us we're not approved, like the mayor keeps saying, the money's not there for we were all under the impression that was our property.
Now, what surprised me about today with Gene was how, the acreage that he pointed out.
Yes, 50
Okay.
feet, he said.
Okay.
So how
That-
are we gonna?
That I didn't know.
How are we gonna construct a boardwalk and lighting? Do we have approval from the state to put that on their property?
It was in our Green Acres application.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
It's
all.
in the Green Acres application?
Yes.
They can tell us no.
What's that?
They can say no.
Right, but so if we open a Green Acres application, that information will be in there, is that correct?
All of this is done in concert with the county and the state officials. There's nothing we can tell.
Yeah, it has to be.
Right, so it will be in the open if we ask.
Hang on a second.
And you weren't surprised by Gene Creamer. You surprised by that?
No, sir, it was not.
I would.
Okay. Seeing no other hands, I move to close this discussion. Public discussion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I do have to correct a quick typo on the tonnage grant application. There's a typo where I need to update the name from Fran Hines to say John McGuire. It's,
Okay. Because Franny retired.
yeah, Fran retired, I did not update that form.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the resolutions on the consent form. All matters listed in the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the Borough Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and we will be considered separately.
Councilman Keeler-Blackford?
Yes.
Councilman Brennan?
Yes.
Councilman McGovern?
Yes. Ordinances, we have no ordinances. Okay, folks, again, thank you for staying. We now have public session, and due to the lateness, we'll limit just one person, just once to the microphone, and let's try and limit it to 5 minutes if possible. Anybody? Teresa?
Teresa Pringle, 1002 13th Avenue. Regarding the safety committee study, I think that's great. Thank you for doing that. I'm concerned about 10th Avenue by Jackson Federici's. You can't get by there. You have to step down into the street. You can't push a stroller through. You can't walk a bicycle through. And also in front of Tulipanos on Main Street, same thing. It's very difficult to get through.
We will look.
That's on the sidewalk, right?
That's correct, on the sidewalks.
We'll see what we can do about those two. We don't even need the committee for that. We'll take care of that.
Thank you so much. And as far as you being in cahoots with the state and the county, hopefully, you're in talks with them for different things, not cahoots, but, you know. Could you please study moving the entrance to the marina from K Street 35 to the light on 12 and 71 by the windmill?
Yes, we're gonna talk to them about it.
That would really
Yeah, we're gonna
help
talk.
regulate the traffic and,
I mean, what's the worst thing, you know, we can ask. The worst they can say is no and nothing changes, but we can always ask.
okay, because it's very dangerous trying to pull it, go
Well,
out onto
hopefully,
35.
you know, when we talk to them about the road guy, maybe that'll give us an opportunity to make the kind of things you're talking about.
Okay.
We can always ask.
Provide for much more safety, I think. And my last request, would the DPW please clean up the waterworks property?
The waterworks property. Okay, you mean over on 12th Avenue?
12 Railroad Avenue, 13th Avenue, the waterworks, that entire area.
Anything specific or?
Well, the weeds, the piles.
We have cleanup plans for the fall.
Okay, you know,
Yes, the shower.
and to be honest, you know, the summer puts such a burden on our crew. You know, we have, how many actual workers do we have? full-time workers? Like two? Two. George, how many guys in the,
I think 18.
18 guys, you know, and sure, most of the work is concentrated down here at the beach. Don't tell me, I know, that's where it is. But once the fall gets here, the beach, we can get to things that were maybe put off. Thank you. David?
Sorry, folks.
That's all right. You're a good speaker.
Good word is. David Schneck, 302 C Street. Two things. Number one, as long as we're on traffic safety, and people keep bringing it up, and if Matt were here, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know, we put up this big building where Hampton was, and now when you're coming up Fifth Avenue to Main Street, you cannot see if the drawbridge is open until you're at Main Street. And it's a lot of havoc there. People are suddenly changing lanes when they see the bridge is open, they're in the right lane, suddenly darting to the left. People are like hedging their bets and going up the middle. This is something I witness every day, going up the middle and not deciding which lane to actually be in until they can see past the building and see if the drawbridge is up or not. You know, during the summer, it's up a lot and stuff, and then there's all the people who are in the street from Strollo's, and with this new building, there's gonna be people. And is there some way that there could be an indicator sign further back on Fifth Avenue when you're approaching Main Street to let people know if the bridge is up or not? Can there be like a flashing light saying bridge open so people know what lane they can go into before they actually reach the intersection? Go out there and stand there and watch what's going on. People are darting left to right, to just suddenly changing lanes. They got the right signal on to turn right, and then all of a sudden they just turn left because they see that the bridge is up, and so they want to turn left on Main Street to go to 8th Avenue to go to 35. They got the right signal on, they're in the right lane, and then they're just making left turns there at that intersection.
That'll be a
Very
police
dangerous.
matter, and I'm sure it was heard, and we'll see if
Maybe if
there is any.
if there could be a sign that lights up saying bridge open or something, so people would know earlier on to get to the left lane so they can make a left onto Main Street and not do it at the very last second. There's gonna be an accident there, I'm telling you.
If there is
It's
a
very
solution,
chaotic
we'll try.
situation.
Okay.
Please have someone look at that. It's bad. Go up there when it's busy, and there's really a lot of chaos at that intersection now. Before you could see if the bridge was up, before you had to decide which lane you were gonna go in. Please. The other thing is, this scrapping of the pay-to-play, or sort of positions of the pay-to-play.
We're not scrapping.
I know it's being tabled. So is this gonna be introduced as a first introduction of first reading at the next meeting or something?
Yes. It's only, there won't be any public session on it, because it's just the first reading. So at the following meeting, it would be the second reading.
I think before you start messing around with our pay-to-play laws, it shouldn't even be introduced as an ordinance as a first reading, that there should be like a regular public hearing about that before you even draft an ordinance, because there's got a lot of people got a lot of opinions on that. And before you even spend the money, deciding what to do, you really need to listen to the people first on this before even drafting, a proposal, and I'm open to some changes.
Well, that's why I was listed in the public hearing today, but we didn't.
Yeah, well, this was kind of strange, because it's listed as a public hearing on an ordinance, but then down here it says no ordinances, so and it's still not on the website either, so,
I think
as an
we
ordinance.
anticipate discussing it at the next meeting.
Yes, we do. We anticipate.
Well, I would like it to be discussed before it's even introduced as an ordinance.
I get it, yes. Brendan?
Brendan Reed, 109th Avenue. Just 3 events taking place on Sunday, September 13th. The Kite Festival is back. There's also the beach bash for those with autism and their families, and also, on the same great day, Belmar Council.
Thank you. You still have 4 minutes and 45 seconds.
Do for the witness of the hour.
Do we have something where each man has something like that? No? Yes, sir.
Cross, 1223 Maplewood Road. Just general comment. I spent a good portion of the day trying to find the plans that were shown this evening, and I couldn't find them anywhere. And I guess just a general comment, I think you guys would be doing yourself a big favor if you posted it early, or if you knew that it was going to be posted today, to maybe push off this meeting a week. Because, I mean, you got to understand these people. They were, half the people got up here and made comments based on the incorrect plans. I mean, I had a list of questions based on, plans that I thought were going to be presented tonight. So, for what it's worth, I just think that, people are sensitive about it when it's right across their house. And I think we probably could have got out here an hour earlier if we got rid of all the questions that were based on the wrong plans. That being said, the dredging, I know that's always a big thing, Shark River dredging. Is there anything as residents we can do to write the people? Because I know you had a nice aggressive writing campaign for the Lake Como pipe, outflow pipe. I remember you mentioning that, I thought. Who do we contact about that? Because it's like a big mystery as to when that's going to happen, where the stuff's going to go.
Well, they're going to start dredging the state channels in the fall.
Right.
And they've engineered what they're going to do, and they have the big hoppers where they dries out the mud very quickly. So they're not going to be stockpiling it in an area. They're pretty much going to dredge the muck into these vats. They're going to spin around, force the water out. Going to be dry, trucked away.
Great. That sounds like a good plan. Because I just think there's a lot of people that are really passionate about the marine area, and if there's anything we can do as residents, especially as the bulkhead, contacting people, give us an address. I mean, I'd be more than happy to do that.
Thank you, Jordan. Yes.
Thanks.
Good. Chuck. Sorry. Oh, no, George.
That's why I knew you said that. You don't have George Comacos, 111 3rd Avenue. I just wanted to say on the point about the sailing program, Mayor Pringle started that in 2000, and I think it's just a great program. And I know what the man's talking about. There was an hourglass there that they were trying to raise $1.2 million, but that will never.
Mike Nixon, who was the head of the president of POVH.
But the program's a great program. I mean, I just get a kick out of seeing it. And wherever you go, when I went to my father's island in Ithaca in Greece, they had the same sailing program. I just came back from Lake George. They have the same. It's pretty cool.
You have your own lake?
Well, it's not mine. But that's all. And the other thing about the bicycle thing, on Real Sports, they had a good documentary about the bicycles versus cars and pedestrians. And Copenhagen's got it down to a science. Amsterdam got a little bit of a problem because they have a lot of bicycles. I'm an avid bicycle rider, and there's a lot of disrespectful people, cars, and bicyclists. No. It gets really complicated. We've taken these people on first aid calls because you can't be doing 30 miles an hour with angled parking and expect, and they don't stop for pedestrians. I mean, I go like 2 miles an hour when I go around. And I used to drive fast on a bike, but I never did on the now because I saw the people get hurt. But I think the town's general doing pretty good. Also for the people on the side where all these plans were for, it's funny how people see things differently. I don't live on that. We used to own a house on Oakwood Road back in the 70s. When I saw the plans and stuff, I didn't go to the meetings because I figured their territory. I know I'm a taxpayer, but that's their neck of the woods, so they should speak for what they want. And I thought they were going to be really happy with it. I can understand they're allowed to have their opinions, and I think it's great. I just feel bad that everybody didn't get the letter, because I did see the cops. We were handing out first aid envelopes. I saw the cops. Now, did they miss houses? I don't know, but I don't think so. But I mean, they must have, because some people said they didn't get it. But sometimes I feel like people think the board's trying to be sneaky. I am partial to them, and I do work for the town. But I used to own a business, and in return, I try to volunteer as much, donate as much, sponsor. I try to give back. It's not too much. I just think there's something missing here. I think everybody really wants the best for the town, including the people that sometimes think maybe somebody's being sneaky. But I don't think there's any sneakiness going on. I don't. But I mean, that's just my opinion. Sorry.
Thank you, George. Seeing no other hands, I make a motion to close this portion.